Great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the meeting of the Community Preservation Committee, Tuesday, July 21st. I call the meeting to order at 7:06. We are going to go a little bit out of order here. We have Janet Maney from the library, and she's been working with Ellen. So, Ellen, we're going to move up the library signage to you.
Thank you. Thank you also to Claire, who's been working closely with the library, to Janet, the trustees, to Ryan, who have been putting a lot of thoughts and discussion into the library signs. Thank you also to Tim. We got your message today as well. So
Ryan's attendee. You want me to promote him?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Grant's promoting up Ryan. So just a little bit of background is there are two projects that are complete at the library and need their signs. And so this is the local history collection, which is housed inside the library, as well as the restoration of the facade. And so Claire has attended, I think, 2 trustees meetings to talk through the language to go on the sign. Ryan has been working with some folks at Crown Trophy to get a mock-up. That's who they usually use for their signs. So we are very close to being in agreement on what we want to be on the signs. So the hope is that CPC can sign off on some language tonight. The library has language that they're happy with. The only kind of sticking point is this back and forth that we've been having internally on kind of what the group is. So the library prefers residents of Southborough. We had talked about citizens. Tim has put a pitch in for taxpayers. So I think it would be great if we could come to some decision tonight so that the library can close these out, or at least close out the signs, and we can go through our process of closing out that, because this is, work that's very much done. So this is really the only piece, along with I know there are administrative pieces as well.
So the 3 choices are taxpayers, resident, or citizen.
Yes.
And the library prefers, just so I'm clear, the library prefers resident. Okay. All right. Well, Ellen, what are your thoughts first? We'll start there.
I appreciated your email, Tim, and he laid out kind of the reasons for taxpayers being the most kind of inclusive language, because businesses pay taxes into the CPA accounts as well. I will say, spending some time looking at the kind of sign gallery that the coalition has, I couldn't find other examples that use taxpayers. And so it doesn't mean they're not out there. Citizen seems to be the most common. I've listened in on the trustees meetings and understand your reasoning for wanting residents. At this point, I'm happy with either one of those that gets us 2 signs.
Okay, Grant.
Yeah, I also appreciate Tim's feedback. I have a preference right now for residents. I think it's more inclusive than citizens. And I also think, even though perhaps not as strictly accurate as taxpayers or as inclusive of it, it flows better and is, for our intents and purposes, I think is fine. So between residents and citizens, I think residents is the more inclusive option. So, and then also, I guess I'll just note that even though taxpayers are the ones actually paying, it's residents at town meeting who are the ones voting on this and approving projects. So I would be fine with residents personally.
Okay, thank you. Katie.
So I don't have a strong opinion either way. I think they're all great and they're all great points. I think if the library has a recommendation of what they want, we should let them do that. They get to look at it all day, every day, and I don't think it makes too big of a difference. So whatever they want, I think is what I think we should go with. But.
Okay, thank you. Kristen.
I agree with everything that's been said, especially if there's a preference by the library trustees for residents. I do think taxpayers sounds a little sterile. I do like the idea of current residents paying forward a gift to future residents. So that would be my vote as well.
Thank you. Claire? You're muted, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, so I am a strong supporter of taxpayers. And the reason is because we are we have a business community here who has supported CPC and supported the articles. The email that I sent out to respond to I didn't want to copy everybody on my reply to what Tim Litt sent today. He had spoken with the group, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 meetings ago, and brought up some really very good points. I'm not sure that everybody realizes that the businesses pay CPA taxes. And Paul Sabelli's November 2025 tax update, which is his annual update, had 2 slides in there that showed how much the average resident pays and how much the average business pays in towards the CPA. And there's a huge discrepancy. The businesses pay a tremendous amount of money. Thank you for whoever put that up. That explains exactly what I'm saying. Here's where we're at right now. The Tricentennial Committee is reaching out to the businesses to help them support the tricentennial activities. They have been very responsive, just like they've been paying these taxes. They are part of our community. And I think that the support, whether it's the businesses, and I'm on the Friends of Tricentennial 300, which is different from the Tricentennial Committee. So I know that our businesses have provided anywhere from, on the larger end of the donors, anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. That's a big chunk of change if our town wants to be able to provide tricentennial events for free, so to speak. The other part of it is that a lot of the businesses have supported, for example, Quick Print, when they were in business, always supported the Boy Scouts. The businesses have always provided money towards summer nights that recreation sponsors. They are a real big part of our community. They are the taxpayers. We have a lot of residents here who do not pay taxes. I really think that taxpayers is the right way to go, to recognize the people who have put in the funds to support these different projects.
All right, thank you, Claire. So I get where you're coming from, Claire. And obviously there's no intent to slight a business in any way. But as I think Ellen said, looking at other towns, this is the language that's used. The residents, as Katie said at town meeting, decide, and again, that's not a slight to the businesses that do pay into taxes. I'm more apt to stay with the residents. I look at some of the other towns, Claire, and sitting here and listening to and thinking about, there are a lot of towns that have a lot more commercial base than we have, and they use residents or citizens. So
with all due respect, Lisa, to you and to other people who have looked at what other towns have done, I really don't care. I think that we as Southborough want to make sure that we have the best working relationship and the best acknowledgement of what the businesses have done. So the argument that no other town has done it doesn't cut it with me.
And that's fine, Claire, and all due respect, I disagree with you. So
Do
we
we think
can,
the businesses care? Like, I mean, like, you know what I mean? We might be making a mountain out of a molehill. Like, I can understand the difference in the wording, but like, uh, are they really going to care at the end of the day? Like, I also think we might be splitting hairs a little bit here at this point.
well, and I think, one second, Freddie, and I also think too, as a final point is, we're not talking a giant sign. We're talking minuscule size signs that are going to be seen by the residents of Southborough. And how many are going to pay attention as they go in the library? You know, I think, again, that's my 2 cents. I'll let Freddie go. And then if anybody wants to add anything, we'll go back down the line. And again, Claire, I'm not trying to disrespect what you're saying in any way. I just respectfully disagree and think it should be residents. That's all.
My,
Go ahead,
my
Freddie.
question is who actually makes the final decision?
Yeah, CPC does.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
there's a vote that is taken on that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
CPC will approve the sign.
Just throwing this out there. I know size is a concern, but how would the residents and taxpayers of Southborough work as a compromise? I know it sounds a little redundant
I think
somewhat,
it's
but
wordy, but I think we're splitting hairs.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback on Kristen, I love the businesses in town. I feel like my family might fund a lot of them just by how much we go and see them. They do a lot for us. That being said, I've got 2 kids in Boy Scouts, and when we get those donations, they are prominently displayed at all the events, and we make sure that they're called out and we thank them. We send thank you notes, which is great. And I know they do a lot for CPC and our tax base, and we're looking for more of that. But I don't think, like Kristen said, it's a kind of a mountain out of a molehill. Is this going to really impact the impression that they get? Is there something else we can do? You know, but I just think we got to keep it simple. And in my opinion, if the library wants residents, then that's what they should get. But that's just, I think.
Okay.
I also think it's going to be residents who are going to actually be interacting with these signs, right? Like, of course, the resident will be the one going into the library. I will note that a lot of business owners are also residents in town, right, for small businesses. So I don't think there's going to be great offense taken at, like, you know, that they were omitted or something. But I think it's really going to be residents who are going to be seeing these signs.
we could write the businesses a thank you letter at some point. You know, if people feel that it's that big of a acknowledgement necessary.
Yeah, for each approved town project at town meeting, we could certainly, but I mean, that's a huge undertaking and as well, trying to figure out how many businesses so you don't miss any businesses.
Yeah, so forget I said that.
No. I like the idea and I think maybe we do an annual letter. Maybe
That's what I meant. I
something.
didn't mean for each project.
Right, but I mean, yeah, just an annual letter letting them know what their CPC dollars have helped contribute to, or, you know, something along those lines.
It should be added in the annual town meeting. It's maybe a recognition.
In the annual report or.
Annual report, we
Yeah.
could do something like that as well.
Yeah.
I'll just,
Could I add something?
sure.
I see the businesses as residents of town. I
I
mean,
do.
some are much more active than others.
Oh, sorry, Janet, you gotta come up to the microphone. Oh, and then you have to, if you just say your name and address, it's on.
Janet Maney, 21 Skylar Drive. I see a lot of the businesses as residents, some of them more active than others, same way residents are. But, you know, we're in and out of them, a lot of them all the time. I don't see them as different from
Right.
a neighbor.
One other thing I'll just note is that in general, I know that we're trying to make our language, like the phrasing standard. So I would be in favor of residents for this one, but just for going forward, just residents across the board, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So Ellen, what are you looking for?
So I think the one last piece in addition to that is just the specific description of the projects. And so Grant spent a lot of time going through our full list, which I very much appreciate. And I'll pull that up. And so Ryan provided a little more detail today about the funding of each of these projects. So just wanted to confirm with you as well, Freddie, if these were fully funded by the CPC, by the CPA versus funded in part, because that's also wording that goes on our sign. So let me see if I can share this.
I have to go back to the application.
So we looked, yeah, we looked at the application and Ryan provided a good amount of detail, so I trust that. I think it was just if anything else stuck out in your memory. And so, Ryan, please feel free to jump in if I'm not describing anything correctly. But so the wording that we now have recommended for the local history collection is the historic preservation of items in the local history collection of the Southborough Library was funded by the residents of Southborough through the Community Preservation Act. And so Ryan shared a little history that this was something that the library undertook with the Historical Society, was envisioned to be kind of a multi-year project that then was shortened, and so that this was then the only funding source. Brian, anything to add to that, or does that capture it?
No, I think that's accurate. And then, I mean, I don't know if you want to add the term was fully funded, because that would be accurate. But you could just, I think leaving it the way that it is also accurate.
Thank you.
In general for that, I think it's useful perhaps to know if it was funded in part, but for fully funded, I don't think it's necessary to to indicate that.
I agree. Katie?
Yeah, I agree.
Kristen?
Agree.
Claire?
I
Oh,
think,
sorry.
I think you know how I feel about this.
Okay.
I'm just, are you having, is there one sign or multiple signs?
So there's two signs. There's going to be one inside,
Okay.
that Ryan showed me. I think might have put pictures in the Dropbox, of where the local history collection is housed. And it's kind of stacks, if you're on the second floor, towards the back where there's the Southborough drug sign.
Yep.
And so the library's plan was to put the plaque up on the wall there, right next to where the collection is.
Okay.
And this would be Brian's according to the spreadsheet, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, yes, so Ryan has worked with Crown Trophy to, go down the process of starting to get a mock-up put together with draft language. I think once, Ryan, you got the final language and the final mock-up from them, you can share that back with CPC, and hopefully we can then just sign off on that. But our thought was that, the library and Crown Trophy have a good working relationship. So why not continue that for these signs?
Okay.
So maybe let's talk about the second one and then we can vote on each.
Sure.
So the library facade restoration, the sign for this would go on the outside of the library. And what we have is the historic restoration of the Southborough Library facade was funded by the residents of Southborough through the Community Preservation Act. One question here is that Ryan again helpfully shared details of this project. It sounds like other aspects of the library restoration around the roof and some of the not historical work were funded by other sources, but I believe the facade was fully funded by CPA.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense for this to be funded and not funded in part, if that rings true to everybody.
Fine with me.
It also, is it saying the historic restoration?
Yes.
So all of the historic parts were CPA funded,
Yeah.
so you don't have to. Wasn't there an earlier CPA funded project for we did the stairs and the steps? Not that you need
That
another
was-
sign for it, but
I had
There was-
checked the,
The stairs and the steps were all part of the same project.
I was gonna say, I thought they
Okay.
were,
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine, Ryan.
Yeah, it was, the main thing was the roof. Because half of our roof is on the historic piece and the other half is not, but it's a membrane roof. So you have to do it as one big roof. And so we had to split the funding between CPA and the town's capital project fund. So they had to actually get voted separately at the town meeting if you go back and review all of that. So it was that piece was somewhat complicated. And then there was an add-on project that the trustees funded later, but that was not in the historic part. All of the historic parts were funded by CPA. So this language is accurate. And I'm not trying to further put us down a rabbit hole. I just want to give you all the background on that because this was a much larger project and it was over a long period of time. There were kind of multiple funding sources that ended up going into it, but the roof and the add-on that happened later were identified as non-historic, and those were funded out of not CPA funds, if that makes sense.
So by using the historic in the description, you're all set.
So I think the only question there is if we would want to get rid of the word facade. If the stairs were funded in that as well, then the historic restoration of the library would cover anything that was part of the historic work, or we can leave it alone.
I believe the name of the project, yeah, I have it in my notes there, was facade restoration. And I have the link to the Warren article, which I think also talked about the facade. I can pull it up if it's useful. But I would be probably more inclined to remain with that.
Great.
Same.
Yeah.
Katie,
I agree.
Kristen,
Yes, I agreed.
okay, Claire,
No comment.
thank you.
Okay, so I think unless Ryan or Janet have anything else to add, we can vote on these.
Ryan, do you have anything else to add?
I would just like to thank the CPC for their thoughtful comments and for taking this seriously. I have also care a lot about signs and what they say, so I just appreciate your time and energy. And I'd like to thank, Janet for being there in person to kind of help. So I appreciate everyone in the room and thank you, all of the people remotely. Thank you for all your effort and time. Ellen has been great to work with, and I really appreciate Claire coming to the meetings and talking to the trustees. So just a lot of thanks and a lot of love and a lot of respect from
Thank
this
you,
end. So
Ryan.
thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. And I will also add as well to Ellen and Claire, I know you guys have spent a lot of time, and Grant as well, and getting this signage going, it's a process. And I appreciate all the time and energy that you've put in. The spreadsheets are great. So that being said, are we looking for?
I have one
Sure.
question. Love the peace and love and all that, though. But in terms of the sizing, I know that you had shared is that something that we will vote on, or do we just leave it up to the applicant? I'll just note, I trust the applicant to have an appropriate sign in both places, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so I think we'll vote on that.
Yep.
Right, I think we'll vote tonight to sign up on the language.
Okay.
Ryan will get the mock-ups back from
Yep.
Crown Trophy, and then we'll see those before they're finalized. I forget the exact dimensions, and Ryan, you might remember, but it was to be in line with the other signs that are there. So there's another bronze sign on the front of the library. There's another plaque on the inside. Ryan, I saw you come off mute if you want to add to that.
Yeah, if I may, I mean, again, I don't want to further complicate this, but when I actually got quotes, and I don't believe you're actually changing any of the language that we quoted out. So I got proofs and quotes that include the sizes, the dimensions of the signs. So I can give you that information tonight if you wanted to just, Ellen and I have kind of talked about this. We were hoping that we could close it out, but if you need to do one more meeting to talk about that stuff, but I have all of that information if you'd like me to relay it.
The only reason I brought it up is because I remember that the interior sign was a smaller plaque, and at the previous meeting, we talked about what an appropriate exterior sign or sized sign would be, but I just wasn't sure if that had to be part of this motion. That's the only thing. So if we're going to break it up into separate motions, I'm totally fine with that.
Brian, do you have the dimensions?
Yeah, just give me, can I have like 1 minute? I'm pulling them up
Yes.
on the emails now.
Oh, come on, we like to put you on the spot.
Was Ellen looking for a mock-up though?
So
It's
I
not
think
just a sign.
he has, let me see what's in my email as well.
Well, Ryan, you're
And it's
great.
also up to all of us as well if we want to see the final mock-up or not.
I don't think it would hurt to see the final mock-up.
I agree.
If you want, I don't know if you want to give me screen sharing privileges, I could, I'm just pulling up the emails now. I can show you the signs. If that's helpful.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then Ryan, if you wouldn't mind sending me what you're gonna show, because we're gonna need it for the minutes.
Yeah, I will forward you.
Thank
I think
you.
Ellen and Claire, when we first quoted this out, I think I did forward them, but there've been a lot of emails back and forth. So I'm not trying to put anybody on blast. There just have been so much back and forth on this. So,
Yeah, it's just good to have the exact one that you're
Yeah.
doing. I'm sure that the emails are in there, but it saves us having to dig back and forth as well.
Thank you.
understood.
I think you have permission now, Ryan.
Okay,
to go
thank
for
you.
it. Yeah.
I apologize about my delay. So this is one of them. We can put the residence and the CPA language in lowercase. But they were using one of the previous library signs as a model. And since CPA was emphasized and residence was emphasized so much, we thought, we put it like that, but we can also make all of this not some of it not capitals, all of it kind of consistent. But this kind of gives you the idea.
So Ryan, is that the inside sign or the outside?
This would be the outside sign.
Okay, and do you know the dimensions?
Yes, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen just so I can get back to the email, if that's okay with you.
Thank you.
I don't normally share my screen, so bear with me, everyone.
Can I ask?
I'm probably gonna ask the same question. Go ahead.
As this sign is about the CPA,
Uh-huh.
it sort of sounds, it's on the library, so people know it's the library. I think having the library logo so prominent is somewhat counterintuitive of what the purpose of the sign is, not to just the library at all, but you see that and it's about the library and who's going to read further. And this is something I brought up a while ago for the trail signs, that the CPC might want to consider getting your own logo that sort of, becomes identifiable just by walking by and knowing it. But if you felt a strong need to have it on there, maybe in a less prominent place, but really the focus is the not CPC, I'm sorry, the CPA and the townspeople funding this.
Didn't we have some logo for the trail sign?
No.
So what
Wasn't there something, a logo on the top of the trail sign?
What we've put on the other kind of mock-ups is the town seal. I think I appreciate your point, Freddie. I think just the process of designing a logo.
I'm not saying we're getting it for this one, but
Yeah,
I'm just
I
saying.
think down the line,
I'm saying if Ryan brings that up again, the first thing that just hit me is library, not CPA funded.
yeah,
And, not to diss the library at all, but, everyone knows they're at the library when they're there.
I'm not sure we need one.
Yeah,
Well,
we
Discuss that as a.
we tend to have the logo on all of our signs. I believe Crown has the town logo, the town seal on file as well. So if the
Yeah.
CPC, I'm kind of looking at Janet right now. I personally am not married to the library logo. We
Great
just
logo.
kind of put
It
that
is.
as a mock-up because we were using previous signs as models with the sizing. So if you felt strongly about this again, I hear Freddie's point on it looking more like a library. I mean, it is going to live at the library, but it does look like a very library specific sign. And if that's not the intention and that's not what you guys want, I'm not going to argue. The
So
sign would be 10 by 6.
10 by 6, okay.
Um,
So I had the same comment that Freddie was gonna make too. That's what jumped out at me. So personally, I would prefer the town seal until we can come up with something for CPC ourselves. I know other towns have, some type of CPC seal. And again, nothing against the library, Ryan, but if we're, for the facade project, I think it was like $1 million. It would be great to have the attention or the focus of that be the residents and CPA and how it was done. So I personally would just prefer the seal, but I'm open to hear what everybody else thinks. Kristen? Sorry, Ellen, I looked at you and said Kristen. Sorry about that.
Kristen, go ahead.
We'll go, Kristen. Go ahead.
I honestly, I get all the points made. It's not a huge deal for me. I think at this point it does make more sense to go with the Southborough seal and then eventually work towards something for a CPC seal. But it's not, again, if somebody felt strongly about it,
Yeah.
that can go either way, but that seems more logical to me.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
Sorry, is there a new question here?
So the question was, Ryan put up a mock-up of the sign, and at the top of the
Yes.
sign, it had a library logo.
Yeah.
And we're saying we think it should be the town seal until we come up with our own CPC. That's the question. Are you fine with it being the library? Or do you prefer the town seal?
Either way.
Okay.
I think that I think it's kind of an interesting thing that like the library has their logo. I don't know that all the other recipients have a specific logo. And then in that case, would they just use the town's logo?
In my experience, the beneficiary of the CPA funding doesn't put their logo on the sign recognizing the CPA funding.
On the residents.
You would end up having recreation, historical, all of the different groups, and it's just, I've never seen it done. So I don't, the goal of the sign is to acknowledge that the taxpayers, residents, and citizens of Southborough put their funds towards this community
I mean,
benefit.
I might not like what the sign says, but that's not the point. I personally just like the idea of the logo. This is the library one, is the first one that I've seen. And I just think it's kind of creative.
Okay, thank you. Ellen?
I think the town seal makes sense.
Okay, Grant?
I also think the town seal makes sense. I don't, in terms of the other details of the sign, I don't really have a preference, I think, in terms of the capitalization, but we should probably think of, I noticed that sorry, I don't have it up here, but I think most of the words were lowercase,
Yeah.
do we need to capitalize every word? Just some thought in terms of that, do we want to see another mock-up with the seal and that kind of thing, or?
That might not be a bad idea. Ryan, how long do you think it would take to get another mock-up?
I can actually reach out to Crown tomorrow, and then I
Okay.
can tell you when we had quoted out and got the proofs, the turnaround was within a day. So I could get these very quickly back.
Okay, so we'll go to Katie first.
Yeah, I don't really have a strong preference either way. I'd kind of like to see this close out as soon as possible if we could. I mean,
Agreed.
I know what the town seal looks like. I think it'll be all right. But that's just, I'd like to close that out tonight if we could.
Okay, so Ryan, would you put the sign back up again to Grant's point about the capitalization? That if we're going to take some form of a position, then it'd be good to make sure that the capitalization is as we want it.
Can I make a
I
comment?
kind of would prefer it if it was more consistent, to be honest, versus the previous signs
Okay.
we've done. I have not shown you, this is the exterior sign. I also have a proof of the interior sign, so I can show that to you next if you'd like to see it.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead, Freddie.
People keep mentioning close out. And we do have some projects where the sign is the last thing to close out a project. However, that's not the case with this. It's just the sign, just so everyone knows that there's a lot of,
PR.
there's other stuff going on before this project gets closed out. So this is really a minor portion of the closing out of the library
It's
project.
good to know.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked a lot about signs.
We have.
And this is beautiful and I'd like to see it up.
I think we've made great progress, so Katie, so.
No, thank you for all the
Yeah,
work,
on
everyone.
Freddie's point, I
Okay,
think she's referring to the preservation restrictions, so that's when it'll actually get closed out. But it's better to try to get this done and take it off our plate, and a lot of time and energy has been spent on it by everybody. So, that's the inside, Ryan?
Yeah, so this
Oh,
is
see, I
the
like that.
interior
Thank you.
sign.
Yeah, I like that
You
a
can
lot
see-
better.
Yeah, I do too. And I think we can kind of clean up, the part that says residents of Southborough and the Community Preservation Act. So the exterior one looks a lot more consistent with that. And then I can also give Crown Trophy the feedback on the town seal too. I know that this isn't like a library meeting, but I'm not directly talking to Janet because we're not in the same room. And I don't know if we can ask Janet if she's okay with the town seal too. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm not sort of formally representing the trustees, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's not something that came up or we discussed, but I don't see, again, it's the library, it's on the
Correct.
building. I don't know that it's necessary to have the logo there.
So I will say, Ryan, in looking at this, I actually like it not all capital for the other sign. I really like this, except can we capitalize the R in residence?
Sure. Yeah, that's an easy fix.
Just, no,
We're
just the
making
R. I
changes
don't want the whole
anyway.
thing capitalized.
No. Can you put it back up? I think if you're gonna start capitalizing words, maybe,
Well, I think residents kind of,
So residents right here. I think
Yeah,
you
how
can
about
see my
was
mouse.
funded? I mean,
I wouldn't,
okay,
I don't know. Everybody says, I don't
all right.
necessarily would
It's
do
okay, never
was
mind.
funded.
Residence is good.
Residence is good, and then I think we confirmed that we can get rid of the in part.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Oh, the
And then do you want the dimensions on that? Because I have that
Yes,
right
can you give me
here.
the dimensions on that one too, please?
That
Sorry.
one would be 10 by 7.
So it's 10 by 6 and 10 by 7.
Yeah, so they're pretty similar. And that's it's based on sizing that we've gotten from them on other signage. So it
Okay.
would be a consistent size with other things at the library.
Okay. So Grant, back to you then. We have time, obviously, so maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to see.
I mean, I know it's minor, but I think we agree on the language tonight, since we're
Yep.
not all in agreement, but I think
Yeah.
majority. And I'd like to see it with the seal just in case it looks funny or whatever, but
Yeah.
that's just me anyway. Not to delay it, but I think we will have made progress by
Well,
agreeing on sign language and just having a proper final mock-up before we go to production.
yes, I think that's, I'm fine with that. Anybody else?
That's just my thought though.
Okay. So Grant, then do you want to make some motions?
Yeah.
Just before he does,
Yes.
the one alternative to that is that I know when you met yesterday as the trustees, you kind of decided to come to our meeting as the representative of the trustees. We could potentially vote on the language, make clear the changes we expect, and then designate one of us to just take a look at what Ryan gets back, make sure everything that we specified is in there, and then they can go ahead with it. Just so we're not waiting another month till our meeting.
That's
But
fine
if
with me.
everyone would rather, have your own eyes on it, we can do that.
That's
Well,
fine.
we can still take our eyes on it, but if, I know Grant brought up the question, so Grant, if you'd like to give it the last once over, I'm comfortable with that.
No, I think that works. Would that be you, Alan, who would?
It can be anybody.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I think that works.
Okay,
Okay, so I move that the Community Preservation Committee approve the language for the library archival project to be, quote, the historic preservation of items in the local history collection of the Southborough Library was funded
By the residents.
by the residents of Southborough through the Community Preservation Act. And that final mock-up will be determined by a CPC representative.
Second.
Do we want to add with the seal on the top?
Yes,
Okay, as amended.
that's what we want to do.
Okay, as amended.
As
There we go.
amended.
Perfect. Okay, and we have a motion and a second. We'll do roll call vote. Braccio, yes. Ellen?
Maria, yes?
Grant?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
I'm doing this again. Kristen?
Laval, yes.
Okay, sorry, and Claire?
No,
Thank you.
And then I would make a motion that the Community Preservation Committee approve a sign for the library facade restoration project to be, quote, the historic restoration of the Southborough Library facade was funded by the residents of Southborough through the Community Preservation Act. And the sign, or end quote, and the sign should also include the town seal, and a CPC representative will approve the final mock-up.
Second.
Perfect. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Lisa, yes. Ellen?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
And Claire?
no,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. All right, let's move on here.
Thank you, Ryan.
I'm gonna,
Thanks,
just
Ryan.
quickly, the next item is the approval of the Community Preservation Coalition dues. They did not increase from last year. So is there any questions or discussion? It's pretty straightforward. They provide all the services that they've provided in the past, and are there any questions or comments on the invoice for $17.50?
So this just comes out of admin?
Yes.
is that the same as last year? Or is there an increase?
No, it's the same, Claire.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, seeing no further discussion, do we have a motion to approve the Community Preservation Coalition dues for fiscal year 27, annual membership dues for $17.50?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Lisa, yes. Ellen,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes,
Kristen.
Yes.
I just had to change it up a little bit, guys. Okay, so that's all set. Okay, next up is discussion of continued applications for fiscal year 27 fall town meeting. First up is the Fayville Park improvements. So I will just say that I'm a little confused. So I had added, Travis sent this afternoon a application, and it was dated 9/12/25. I think the date was wrong, but he said that was the updated application. The one that was in there wasn't correct. They had just updated just a couple things. But as I went through it, I was confused. So Kristen, I don't know.
Yep.
If you
So
can
I'll
kind of,
just give a quick
Okay.
overview of what we've done since we last talked, and then
Okay.
Travis will pull up what the background in terms of the price difference just really comes down to additional parking that we've added. So I'm not going to go obviously through the historical, like all the history of the project. Obviously that's well documented in past minutes and meetings. But parking was, of course, the number one concern in terms of where we last left off. We have since then completed a study with our with Arctivitas, the architect that we're working with. They came back with 3 potential designs in order to increase the parking, along with our other strategies of making sure that we put in appropriate signage so people know where they can park. There's some confusion, for example, around our deeded spots across the street, as well as the spots along Central Street. So with that, we have raised, with the proposal that the Recreation Commission believes that we should go forward with, which Travis will present in a moment, that would increase our parking in the ballpark of it's like 33 or 34. Again, we'll clarify that in a moment. And we feel is a good proposal to move forward, along with some other things, for example, like maybe looking at how many birthday parties we schedule on a certain day and potentially limiting that a bit more. So the difference that you will see in this application is just that we, that's how we are tackling the parking concerns. The additional money would be to expand our plan to, what we're ultimately suggesting is modifying the existing parking. Again, we'll get into that in more detail in a moment. At that point, provided there's, we want to get everyone's feedback tonight, we would move that proposal forward in the form of a letter to, I think there's a little bit of question on who ultimately has to prove it. Travis has already spoken with DPW and the police about the possibilities. But then ultimately we want to put it in front of obviously the planning board and the select board at a minimum too. So again, our intent tonight would be to say, we hear it on the parking, to present right now in a little bit more detail what the commission feels like we should move forward with. 3, answer any of your questions. And then if we arrive at a good spot, we will summarize that into a letter to the, again, the 2 boards, unless somebody has clarification on the appropriate sequence that we should follow. And, honestly, the parking updates that we want to make, probably we'd want to make regardless of whether or not we move forward with the project in the fall. But that really was the thing that we were left to tackle, and that's what we've done. I'm going to pause there before I ask Travis to pull up the option that the commission feels is the best option. And we certainly can touch on the other ones. Let me pause and see if there are any initial questions before we get into that extra layer of detail.
All right, Ellen, any questions before?
I don't think so. So this was, okay. This is in the Dropbox as of.
Yes,
Okay.
so I guess Kristen, first, before we move forward, I'm a little confused by what's in the Dropbox and what we were sent. So today we received, not today, I think it was yesterday, actually. Travis had sent a note, it was today, and said, updated application, but I'm wondering if it was really the updated application. I just want to be sure. What's the right application that we should be looking at? One was dated 7/6/26, which I thought was the updated application. And then what we got today was dated 9/12/25. And it had total cost of the project is different than is on what's being requested.
Yeah,
So-
it was an administrative oversight that in our last meeting, we had all kind of shook our head and said, yes, we think 2 out of the options we were presented, the second was the way to go. Again, just administrative communication oversight that additional money hadn't been incorporated in. And so and Travis can back me up on this, that's the application that was revised and submitted today to make sure that we had that cost clarified. Now, after we go into more detail in a moment here on the proposal, I do think there's a discussion we want to have around timing as well as a grant that we're waiting, hopefully, to hear about. But let me pause there. Let's see if anybody else has any additional questions, and I'll ask again Travis to go into more detail.
No, that's fine, Kristen. I just want to know which application we should be looking at. The one dated 9/12 or the one dated 7/6? Which is the most updated? The one with the $240,000 listed? That was the one from today.
1502800.
Yes, that's
Actually, could you guys actually bring Travis over? Sorry, I should have asked.
And again, I'll go down the line still, Kristen, with questions, but I just want to make sure for consistency, we're all looking at the same document. So the request is for 1.5 or 1.1?
The 1.5, Travis, is all inclusive with our design and
Okay,
parking
so
changes.
it is the 9/12/2025 that we got today should be the one that we're reviewing. Okay, we'll go down the line. Sorry, Ellen.
Are you looking for questions throughout the application at this point, or just on what Kristen perhaps?
Just what
said
Kristen just said before she brings Travis over, if there's anything specific.
So just one parking related question. And Kristen, you mentioned talking with DPW and the police department. And so my only question looking at the parking plan was if the police department does need to weigh in on kind of the safety of people backing up, onto Central Street with the added diagonal parking. And if so, at what point that happens.
Yeah, I think we'll get to that. We can put that one aside for a sec. When Travis goes, he'll definitely address that.
Okay. Yeah, so I have nothing else that at the moment. I have other questions maybe, but after Kristen said Travis
Perfect.
goes through, then
Okay.
maybe he'll answer some of those.
Grant, anything quick?
No, I'll wait until after.
Okay. Katie?
Same.
Claire?
Yes, and maybe Travis is going to cover this. I'm confused. I did look at the 3 maps that were provided with the different number of parking spaces. I'm confused, it's probably on my end, on the concept of deeded parking spaces across the street where the old Fayetteville Hall, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
maybe
fair
that.
question. Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so Travis, do you want to just dive into more detail on the second option that we at least this commission feels is the best one?
Yeah, 100%. And Lisa, this totally was on me. I apologize. I went to go double check the application today, the one that I sent you initially in July, early July, and I included the one that didn't have parking in there, so that was totally my fault. And then the one I submitted today was the incorrect date, so totally my fault. I can send you an updated one tomorrow with the actual information. We have 1,000 things going on with camp and events and stuff, so I apologize. That was an oversight on my side. So sorry for the confusion.
It's all good, Travis. You're here tonight now to straighten it all out. So thank you.
Yeah, so it's been a interesting 6-7 months, and I'll work through to where we were post wrapping up with you guys last to where we are now. We did have 2 community engagement sessions, and I don't know if we've talked to you since we've had those. We had the one wasn't superintended, but the second super well attended, but the second one we had about 11 or 12 residents, which was great. A lot of folks in the neighborhood came out, which was tremendous. And to Kristen's point initially, parking was their biggest concern. And when we wrapped up that last, I think, community engagement session in May, we dove into a parking study with Activitas. So we launched into a 2-month parking study, and it was very productive. They gave us 3 options. The Recreation Commission landed on the second option, which was a total of 33 spots, 12 across the street at the Historical Commission that are deeded, 17 on Central, and the 2 ADA accessible spots. That was the middle option. The first option included parallel parking and was only 27 spots. And all of these options also include a blinking light across Central Street. And we did have conversation with DPW about possibly pursuing some grant options for that. But we did include that in the application based off of a lot of feedback from residents about crossing Central Street, which is great feedback on that. So the $240,000 that you see in addition since the last application was the middle option for the parking study that we went through. And it does include angled parking on Central. It does include earthwork, a little bit of earthwork. So it would extend the parking a little bit and build a little bit of a retaining wall. So you're not directly backing into Central Street, but we would have to put out maybe some slow blinking lights. And oddly enough, to your point earlier, we did loop in the police department. This was actually Chief Newell's recommendation as well, angling parking. And we did talk to DPW as well. So we have looped them in as far as these studies go. And the additional money that you see in our application today, and I'll send an updated one tomorrow, was the $240,000 for parking. Out of the total costs, I know it's a big amount. We're hoping to get an answer from that grant in the fall. And I think it is $632,000 of that is grant reimbursement eligible. So we're hoping to get an answer from the National Park Service in the fall to make sure we get, or hopefully we get that grant funding, which would cut this project in half, almost. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at today. The middle option was the one that we landed. There was a third option. It got us a little over 40 spots, but that did take away some of the green space in the park. That option included parking within Fay Memorial Park. And the feedback that we've got from the residents so far is green space is a priority and something they'd like to keep in that park. It was 10 spots. And the price tag for that was substantially higher.
And I just want to thank you, Travis. And I can't reiterate enough, like how much these guys have going on and how much work this actually represents. And they're running the camp and there's a million things going on. So I do want to just give that shout out to the rec department. But again, it's kind of a three-pronged approach in that we're expanding the parking per what Travis just described. We will be reaching out. Obviously, we would need to get, again, the appropriate approvals for this. But along with that the second approach would also be strengthening the signage around there in terms of, from whatever appropriate dawn to dusk or whatever the hours are, what parking spots are really meant for the park. And then to your question, Claire, and this one we're kind of more hands off. We're really looking at the park and the Central Street parking and the handicapped and Winter Street, and just making sure people are very clear on where they can park and where they should not. Hearing the residents in terms of where people tend to park and they shouldn't, as well as, again, we've talked in the past to businesses in the area. As far as the thing that we're kind of less directly involved with is the lease or the deed agreement regarding the parking lot across the street. However, as part of the original committee that put forward the RFP for selling that property, is worked into the deed that there are spots in that parking lot intended for use by the park. There are some conditions around that, of course, in terms of their events and whatnot, but we are including those in the count because they are deeded, and I believe the board is again, we're not really. We don't see that as our kind of thing to pursue, but we believe that is being pursued, and we'll make sure we stay in step with the select board and all the appropriate parties to make sure that signage is also very clear. So again, it's really, there's multiple things in motion to get us to a place where we feel pretty confident. And I think we all know as a habit drive by that park all the time to check out, what the activity looks like there. My parents, I go by there, many times a week because they pass there on the way. And aside from, I think, we had a hiccup a day that there was multiple birthday parties scheduled on the same day. So, we hear that and we can take care of that with scheduling. Okay. Like maybe we shouldn't schedule 3 birthday parties on the same day. So it's really a combination of all these things, the feedback that we're getting, the steps that we know that the town's taking, and then the additional steps that we're taking that make us pretty confident. Like we feel good about this. I will reiterate, we're getting to the point from our perspective that we short of putting this recommendation and getting permission for the parking, again, kind of regardless of the project, we think this parking plan makes sense. We're a little bit at the spot of like, okay, this is what we can do. Unless somebody wanted to pursue the more expensive option that takes away some green space, we didn't think that made any sense. Like we're here and we're like, this is the project that we think makes sense. This is the parking that we can facilitate. We hear the concerns. We think this will, this will handle that problem. There's not much more we feel as a commission we can necessarily do at this point other than to present it to the town and let the town make the decision.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. So we'll go down the line. I have just a couple. Parking obviously is a concern. I think I just want to add to and acknowledge, and it was in the Dropbox, we had received a letter from Dean Lamza and Patty Fiore along with some pictures. And I don't know if I put in there, Travis did respond, just so the committee knows, Travis did respond to both of them. So I will just say, Kristen, parking is still a concern. I know some of the pictures were a little concerning as well. I still think it's a good project. Just a couple of quick things on the application. On page 4, so when Travis goes through to update it, under open projects, the last sentence, we are hoping to have anything open closed out by the end of fiscal year 26. Need to change that. So fiscal year 26 has already ended.
Thank you,
So,
Lisa.
okay. And then I have just a quick question on, I guess, why does it say page 4 again? I have another page 4. Don't know why. Oh, I have another page 4 too. Just under budget, number 6, Travis.
Yep.
So the 1195,700, if
Yep.
I'm reading this right, there's no contingency built in that? Is
There
that
should
correct?
be, no, there should be a 15% contingency. I'll double check that number.
Okay, yeah, because I'm kind of going back and forth between the two. Let's see, this one is dated, conceptual design dated April 29th, 2026. It was with the 7-6 document that was sent in. It doesn't show a contingency, so I just wanted to verify. So you're saying there's a 15% in that?
There should be a 50%. I'll double check that.
Okay, if you could do that, that would be great. And, okay, we'll go down the line. Ellen?
Thank you. So one other question about parking for me, at least. You might have others from other people. So the angled parking on Central would bring that to 19 spaces. How many spots are on Central right now?
So they're unmarked, and I meant to, and Lisa's point, thank Patty and Lori. We had 6 birthday parties there this weekend, or 5, I should say, 3 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. We have over 60 a year, so it's not uncommon. And during peak times, it can get a little nutty with parking. So right now, on Central Street, nothing's lined, nothing's marked, and it can get a little chaotic. I think to Kristen's point earlier, at the very worst, I think you line those spots, and I think we get to 12. Angling gets you to 17. Just makes it a little more organized. But there's an informal. I think if you parallel park them and mark it, you can get to 12.
But that's if everyone parks.
Yeah.
Perfectly, and they're not. They're just coming in, leaving 5 feet between their cars. Which, by the way, I would do it too. So we're not maximizing that space in its current configuration.
I think Patty had sent us pictures, and folks were even double parking there this weekend. So it's not marked out right now. I had DPW went down and count. I think it was 13 or 14, but that was DPW just informal going down there and counting.
And we don't think, and I haven't gotten to look closely at the pictures, but we don't think people are utilizing the parking lot. And I know that's a bit of a sensitive topic, but there are spots there as well. We just need to make sure it's clear for all patrons of the park, as well as the Historical Society Center, like what is allowed and what isn't. And right now it's a little unclear to people. So I think they're just steering clear.
Yep.
I actually think what they did this weekend was perfect. Like, that's exactly the type of feedback we need, because right away we're like, okay, maybe 3 birthday parties on the same day is too much, and those are the types of things we can adjust.
Thank you. The other question I had, so you're right, Lisa, everything is page 4.
Okay, so it's not just me.
Yeah.
We'll add that to the list of corrections that I need to make, and when we get that.
No, I don't think that's you. I think that's us. But your sample budget that you have over the 5 years talks about utility costs, wood chips. Just trying to think through if there are other anticipated costs kind of around the setup or maintenance, particularly of the splash pad. So if there's water testing that has to happen, kind of what happens at the start and the end of the season of putting equipment up, taking it down, anything that needs to kind of be replaced over the course of time. And you can't anticipate all of that, but just if you anticipate there being enough in the revolving fund to cover all of that, if that is where that would come from.
Kristen, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
No, go for it.
It's a great question. So that was something we wanted to be sensitive to, and the commission wanted to be sensitive to. So we do recreational program there down there currently. We do some pre-K programming down there. We just did a basketball camp down there. With a dog park, there's a potential to maybe do some dog obedience classes, some walking programs. So we're hoping through expanded recreational programming down there, funds can be allocated to the maintenance. And you are right, the biggest cost outside of the water is the winterization and the activation in the spring and fall, late fall, hopefully. So those are your biggest costs. And I just tried to find comps for other communities and talk to those rec directors to figure out what is your utility cost, what kind of splash pad do you have? Do you have a recycled one? What's your average utility costs, and then what do you generally pay for winterization, and then opening it up in the spring. So that's just pulling on our network of rec professionals locally that have splash pads in their community and trying to figure out if the budget that we have would support that. And I think the commission, and I believe it does.
Great, thank you. And then could you talk a little bit more about the grant you mentioned, and the potential reimbursement from that, kind of the timeline, how all of that would work?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I keep on wanting to give you guys info, but I haven't got any info to share. So it's a National Park Service grant. It's a federal grant. There are approvals right now. We're in the last phase of the approval, the federal approval. I think a year and a half ago, they just heard back this past fall. So this fall we should be hearing back. They haven't given me an exact. They won't even give me a month. It was probably in that September, October ballpark, but I can't even give you that. But out of the project, we had them pull it out. 632,000 of that is grant eligible. I would love to have an answer by town meeting, to go into town meeting and say we are eligible for this amount for reimbursement. So that way you can have a clearer picture for what the project looks like financially. It's just, I wish I could, I keep on pulling, but it's a federal grant, and we're at their mercy.
Sense. I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Grant?
Yeah, thanks, Travis and Kristen. Few questions for me. So just in terms of the budget, the estimate has obviously grown to 1.5 million. Is the growth there solely on the parking side? So essentially, it's the estimate that we received in April 29th. I think the Activitas estimate's still the one that you guys are going with, or has that changed in response to changing design or anything like that?
For the parking or the project itself?
Oh, sorry, for the project itself. Because I think, yeah, I'm looking at a conceptual design bid of 1262, and then I'm assuming that the parking kind of gets added on top of that, but maybe I shouldn't.
No, I will send you an updated application. And again, I'm sorry for the confusion with the budget, but yeah, that sounds about right. And then the 244 parking in addition to that as well. So that is something that's been added since we talked last.
And the flashing light sign, which again, we'd hopefully get a grant for. Like we've learned about the process by which Bill got, or DPW got funding for the recent flashing lights that went in. So now we understand the process, and we would hope, we can't bank on it, but we would hope to get some of that covered.
Yeah, Bill, we had a really good conversation with the DPW, and he had mentioned that once you go through that grant cycle, you kind of lose the flexibility to choose where you want them, and you're at the flexibility of the grant. I think he had said I forget the number that he said he had put in town, but they kind of tell you where they do a study, and then they tell you where. We would love for this project to be included in that, but we can't bank on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see. So, sorry, give me 1 second here. Yeah, so I guess I have a question. I know that I've seen multiple, like over the course of the project, multiple different designs. And I think at the last update, it was just coming off of the community forums or past that, and you guys were implementing feedback from that. So it'd be helpful for me in terms of kind of what, if any, design changes happened in response to the community forum. It sounds like obviously the parking is the main one, but in terms of, I guess, inside the park boundaries, were there any changes made, or is that remain the same from before and after the forums that you had?
Oh yeah, I'll start, Travis, with what I can comment on. I'm sure you know, but yeah, we're very well informed by those forums, and it wasn't just those two public forums, but Travis and the department had Touch a Truck. And that's actually probably one of the places they got the most feedback. I stopped by, and I saw multiple people talking to them. So that this design is very much influenced by the community. I think the most notable thing off the top of my head, Travis, is the placement of the splash pad, which original versions had it in the middle, kind of next between the dog park and the basketball, the existing basketball court. So that got moved. The size, as you know, You actually were part of that, got moved down in terms of the pad. The parking, yes, we've definitely moved that around and worked at a lot of different angles on that, as well as the handicap parking that's available. And then even most recently, there was discussion, a really great point from a father who said, well, if my kid's playing in the playground and they say a splash pad, I don't care. They're not going to care what I say. They're running for that splash pad. So can we create some sort of natural barriers there? And then just even more shade has been brought up. So more green space. So all of the, honestly, this design really is guided by the community. I can say that, this is not what we went in with. Travis,
Sure.
what would you add to that?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. There are so many things that we pulled out of this that we can implement there outside of this project that are really cool. Like you would hit on the shade. That was something that a lot of people hit on. One resident mentioned sledding on that side hill at one of our community forums. Didn't even think about that. So I guess it's a popular sledding hill for those little guys. But the fenced in area between splash pad and the playground was another good one. So yeah, the initial design was the larger splash pad in the middle, based off of Northborough's splash pad, and then based off of feedback, we shrunk that down, and then based off of feedback, we ended up moving it on the other side of the playground to create more of a separation between dog park and play area. And then residents seem happy with that because there was more green space in the middle. So it's kind of had a lot of different variations over the course of the year, which is kind of neat to see how it's progressed over the year.
And I have to say, one of my favorite additions that we came up when we were discussing signage of all things was that we started, doing our own digging on Harold Bay, and it's a really cool history and how many people are coming to that park, which is, Harold E. Fay Memorial Park, and even understand the significance of the park or Fayville Hall. So we added into the project, a sign. I think we added that. Did we add that, Travis?
No, we were going to do that outside of this, but yeah,
we're going to do that with our own funding. But something that actually tells people why it's named, what it's named. And the walking trail, I think we had that actually in the beginning. So anyways, it's been a very iterative process. I think we are going into town meeting with the best we can offer.
Great. Thanks for that history. Appreciate it. So in terms of the current design, I'm looking at Fay Memorial Park Parking Study Option 2, which obviously has the parking, but is that the current design as well or the most recent design for the park itself?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the most recent for everything.
Yep.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks. And then in terms of the pricing on the parking, I have a couple questions about, I guess, the current conditions there and how much work is needed. So looking at the bid, which came out to, what was it,
190.
190. It looked like it's going to be doing pretty much this is my limited understanding of this, but pretty much a full repave of the existing parking spots. Is that right? In terms of excavating it and scraping it and putting it down again. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we would be extending the paved area a little bit to get a little bit more of the parking in a little bit. So you'd be creating a little bit more of a retaining wall on that hill, and then so that'd probably be the biggest element of that project as well.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping to get because I haven't been there in a bit, and I'm just hoping to get a sense of kind of the current conditions of the asphalt, and because it sounds to me like in terms of actually adding more spaces, it's pretty much just actually repainting or painting lines there. And so, if a full rebuild of the road or something isn't needed, that could be a significant cost savings if, you can just paint it in a diagonal or something. And
initially,
I know that's oversimplifying it, but yeah.
No, initially we were hoping that was going to be the case, but Activitas came back and said they would like to go in a little bit further to create a safer way to get out. So that was what they recommended. The first parking option was just your painting lines, and that was the cheaper of the two options, but it only gave you 12 spots as opposed to 17 on Central Street.
Okay.
Travis, I'll just add that it's a great grant. What you're saying it's a great point. If we want to arrange like half an hour to go meet at the park, I'm volunteering Travis while he's running camp, but you know, we should like, because visually it makes a huge difference when you're there and can walk it and see it. So, you know, happy to meet anyone over there.
Thank you. Yeah. And on that kind of same line, could you explain the 39,000 for a new wooden post and rail, where that would be going, and I guess why it's needed?
Yeah. Kristen, you want to go?
Is that the wooden post rail by the parking spots that we would have to move because we're extending the parking spots?
Correct.
It's on the bid document it's under Central Street parking.
Yeah,
under the
so there is an existing fence there, but if we extend the parking like we'd like to, that has to be obviously replaced.
Okay, and that's the same with the curbing there, that you're just extending it down, and it doesn't exist there.
Right.
And I'd be happy to double check with Activitas if you like, just to double check.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, just this isn't really a question, I guess, but my final parting thought is just, I guess, continued concern about the cost. Obviously, it would be great if we get the reimbursement grant, but going into town meeting or our process, we probably won't know that, and we'll have to take a vote before that. And just I was concerned about the cost when it was $1 million, and now it's up to 1.5. So I'll just put that out there as a lingering concern for me, but appreciate all your work on this.
Thank you, Grant. Katie?
Yeah, I love the option too. I think it's great. I think we do need to fix that parking no matter what. As somebody who's been there a lot. My kids were real little. It is kind of a mess. It's scary with that fence, like kids can crawl underneath. And so I think I'm in support of that either way. I think it's a great project still, and I will reiterate what I say every time. I love how you guys are just collaborating with residents, with the police, with DPW. You're just getting ahead of things. Your response, Travis, today was pretty quick and I thought pretty thorough, and just keep doing what you're doing. The only concern I have are the deeded spots. I think that might be a distraction if we don't nail that down before town meeting. And I just want to make sure, I know it might not be under your purview, but maybe, work with whoever's working on that to see. I mean, I was under the impression there were 4 spots. Hearing that there's 12 is news to me, good news, but I'd just like to see that nailed down. So that we can just have a strict answer on how many spots there are.
Great. Thank you, Katie. Claire?
We have, you guys, it's very clear, you have put a tremendous amount of work into this. Maybe, I don't know, did you realize it was going to be all this much work? Anyway, my point here is we have 3 months to town meeting. And correct me if I'm wrong, you're still planning on bringing this to town meeting?
Yeah. I mean, I go back to I think there's a larger discussion there, Claire, in terms of what other CPC articles are going, because again, that's a larger discussion in terms of if no other articles end up going this fall, which I don't know if that's a possibility. We haven't spoken about the other projects, so I'm not trying to float anything, but we do want to understand what the other projects are doing. I will say that short of getting the approval for the parking changes, there's not much more we can do. Like, we have tweaked this, we have, there's no more corners I think we would want to cut to put forward a project that we think makes sense to the town.
Right.
So in that respect, if again, we walk out of tonight's meeting with some, general thought that this is heading the right direction, the next step is for us to go to the appropriate authorities and get the approval. Again, we think the parking changes, we think that makes sense regardless, right? That would be kind of, to me, the final step we can take to go in and say, yep, we're doing, we've got the approval, we're making these changes, the deeded parking's all settled, and let the town decide at that point. I just don't know there's not much more as a commission, and Travis, correct me if wrong, that we can do to massage this project much more before putting
I understand that. The other part of my question is, there are dates that you are waiting for which are totally out of your control, like for the grant from the national parks.
Yep.
Okay. So And town meeting is October 17th. So that's
Right.
3 weeks, 3 months from right about now.
Right.
And some of these numbers that you're really waiting for are key for getting approval for this. And so my thing is I've taken a few notes on some other things that need clarification. My thing is you guys will be miracle workers if you can pull this thing through by that time frame versus.
Well, when you say pull it through, I mean, short of, again, getting the approval on the parking and then hearing about the grant, like those are our, I think, Travis, correct me if wrong, those are, and I think the parking to me, maybe I'm being overly optimistic, seems like a no-brainer. And then the grants, the question mark, but hopefully we would hear before October 19th. So you're right, not disagreeing with you. Those are two big dependencies. But I don't know that we have this whole long list, like, and timing is a consideration. I completely agree. That's why I think that's a larger conversation when we know the status of all the articles. But I really think those are the two big dependencies, which don't require a lot of action. It's more waiting. I mean, Travis, correct me if I'm wrong or missing anything.
No, you've hit the nail on the head. That is the grants, unfortunately, the biggest, and I would maybe that's a bigger discussion, but I think we've done everything we can do, from tweaking this project within the park to listening to residents and trying to figure out.
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there still are some other numbers, I guess paving and that kind of stuff that still need to be firmed up. But I understand what you're saying, that you, as your commission, have gone as far as you can. It just seems to me there's a whole lot of loose ends that need to be tied up before you have something that will be able to pass a town meeting. That's just my own personal opinion.
No, I appreciate that, Claire. Is it anything, just to make sure we're all on the same page, is it anything beyond, when you say a bunch of loose ends, is it's the approval for the parking plan and then finalization of or a decision from the grant? Do you see any other loose ends? I just want to make sure we're all like on the same page as to what those loose ends are.
You know what? Let me get back to you. I need a day to go back through the notes that I've been taking. And maybe listen to the transcript. Maybe it's my project management background that says, how's all this going to get done? So, making maybe a list exists someplace and I just haven't seen it.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think that might be the problem. I don't think we have a list. So if there needs to be a list, we need to know it. Right now, we're like parking approval and grant finalization. So we need to add anything else to that list.
Right. Okay. All right. I'll get back to you within the next day or two.
All right. Thanks, Claire.
All right, Claire, thank you. I have a couple additional questions. So for parking, you were speaking to a local business. Has that fallen through, Kristen, or is that still continuing?
No, and Travis, I don't want to steal thunder. He's had all the conversations. I actually think they were receptive. And then Activitas was just like, no, we don't think that's the best idea because of sidewalks, but that doesn't mean that's not still an option. Travis, if you don't mind kind of giving more detail on the conversations to date.
Yeah, so the conversation has progressed very well. They seem, like to Kristen's point, very receptive to helping out. They like to see the park in use, and in our peak times don't coincide with their peak times. But Activitas, the company that did the traffic study, had a recommendation that there's no real accessibility route to get from their parking lot to the sidewalk. So they advised against that. But something we can explore most definitely. But those conversations are still open and is definitely a possibility.
Okay. I mean, again, I'm not a traffic study person, but in looking at it, if you're going to be putting a flashing crosswalk there, that opens up to me a little bit more possibilities than if there wasn't something there. I mean, you're talking a short distance of potentially walking on a street. very short distance.
Yeah, in a street that doesn't get traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that was my first question. My second question is on the LWCF grant. So is there a match required in that?
It's a reimbursable grant. So yes, is that what
Okay.
you, so we would have to match it, and that's why they do require
I got it.
a town warrant affirmative vote.
Got it.
And then we would get reimbursed for those funds.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna go back to the contingency for a minute, Travis.
Mhm.
When I look at the activitas
Yep.
from April 29th, and I look at that, I don't see a contingency. Did they build it into each of their numbers? Typically, the contingency is called out separately.
It's
Okay.
usually, I'll double check that for you, Lisa. It's-
Can you
it's
do that? I
good.
just want to make sure that, you know, that
100%.
there is contingency funds.
Need those, yes.
And I agree that the deeded spots definitely needs to be worked out. I know the select board is working on that. I'll give a suggestion to you.
Mhm.
If this goes forward to town meeting, Access Media, I would suggest utilizing them and doing a 5-minute, informational video that you can just put out there. And if people,
Yeah.
instead of being educated at town meeting, people might take the 5 minutes and watch a video of the highlights of what you're trying to do. Terry's looking at me now and I'm
No,
offering
I
Terry
love that idea
services
because
here.
a lot of people haven't even been to the park, right? So even to give a view of the park that we're
Right.
talking about, I think is really important. I love that idea.
Yeah, so work with Terry. She can go out and take some shots of the park and then have you guys come in and sit in the studio. It's back up and running now. And yeah, it just might be a good thing that you can kind of splash that all over social media and, into different groups. So
Yeah.
that's just a suggestion again to get the word out. And I just want everybody to keep in mind that the date we had set for trying to get everything wrapped up for the fall town meeting was 8/31. I think we have a little bit of play, maybe 2 more weeks in that. And again, Freddie's giving me the look. In order to get the warrant article set. So again, just keep these dates in your mind as we move forward, and what we're still looking for on the projects. So Freddie.
Yeah, great presentation. I have a question about the grant. It's an LWCF grant
Yep.
and there's a match. How does the
Yes.
timing of that play out? Because I'm hearing Kristen talk about, well, maybe you'll go to annual town meeting, but if the grant is finalized before then, don't you have to have the funds already approved?
So we have had conversations with the National Park Service. The grant would, the grant is still eligible regardless if we do the affirmative town meeting in the fall or the spring. So it doesn't, as long as we wrap it up, they said the spring at the latest, but if we don't do it in the fall, we still have the option to do it in the spring. Does that answer your question, Freddie?
Yep, I'm just going to restate it again. So the grant funding doesn't have a deadline that you need to have the fall town meeting to receive the funding.
Correct.
Okay. So it could be at spring. That's interesting. And the way, when you first came out, we're talking about the parking and there were 12 deeded. So that's a separate issue, but 17 on Central, and somebody mentioned those, how many were already there? And if my math is correct, you're like gaining 5 spots. And I'm just going to suggest, because later in the conversation and your talk, you talked about how you need to fix the parking for the playground, even if you don't do this work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to try to sell the town meeting $240,000 for 5 parking spaces is not easy. So I think you need to, I would recommend if this goes forward and is recommended to go on the warrant, that you need to do, look at a presentation where this parking improvements are needed for this park today.
Mhm.
So that even if you didn't add any, or you didn't add any activities there, that the park needs to have improvement for parking that would cost this money. So,
Right.
Mind.
Like we need to do this. Yeah.
you need to think about how to present that because other people are going to be doing the math and saying, wait a minute,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
And
That's
I
a
just
lot of
want to
money for five
clarify,
park.
like 12 spots at best. You're assuming everybody's going up and perfectly perpendicular parking and leaving, however X many feet between I mean, that's just not happening, right? So you're not. That's one of the things we've struggled with. Like,
And you're making it safer? I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm saying
yeah.
if there's things you're doing that this parking is improving for the park existing that
Yeah.
should be done, because I'm hearing the neighbors already, without any additional activities there are, having, issues with the parking, and this will alleviate that
Yeah.
as a standalone, even without maybe, I just throwing that out there to
No,
consider.
that makes a lot of sense. And there's also a point, and I'm not quite sure if we try to work it in or not, but you guys will appreciate this. We come up with this plan as part of the outreach we did. It was with Southborough, or now Algonquin Little League, because they're not using the field there right now, but it's also, this is part of our plan, and reconfiguring other fields for their usage and further consolidating their fields works out great, right? Like, they love the plan. If for some reason all of this falls through, they could very much go ahead and make that field active again. So, it doesn't really solve the parking, meaning there's a parking issue there. Whether we build the splash pad and dog park, it's there, to your point, Freddie, like whether or not baseball starts using it again, or we put the dog park there. So I get your point. Like we're not just adding, but we're alleviating an existing problem. And I think we can communicate that clearly.
And the other one is the blinking light. Is that necessary to get across Central Street over to the deeded parking spaces?
It's not required. There's a crosswalk there now. We just think it would be, seeing them pop up in town, we're like, well, that makes a lot of sense. And we think it would be a great spot for it.
So the purpose is to cross the street to get to the other side
Yeah.
Safely.
for the deeded spaces.
Safely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so just kind of making that clear in your,
Well, for the deeded spaces, and or for if we do work it out with the business, and or anyone just walking from their residences.
Walking.
Yeah.
yes, because walking's a big,
Yeah.
I don't know, when I was a kid, we walked to the park.
Yeah. No, there's lots of families up on Oak Hill that I know come down, because actually there's some of them were the families we talked to at Touch a Truck, the father who said, wait a second, my kid's going to go running right into the splash pad. So you do get a lot of foot traffic there too.
And also, if I may add, I think the sidewalks they're putting on Oak Hill will come down and connect through Route 9 and come over as well. So you may have people walking from the Oak Hill neighborhood down to the park as well.
Route 9's kind of tricky.
I know it is, but you can still
Yeah.
cross. There's a
They definitely do it
Crosswalk there.
today. They definitely do it today.
Yeah,
So that's-
the blinking light was something that has been brought up on multiple different community engagement sessions. So it's something that's been a constant.
We'll also draw attention to the fact that there might be cars backing out. I mean, just sort of
Right.
get your attention to slow down a little bit. So,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
I have a few
Go ahead,
more
Brandon.
things. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So I think I've mentioned this previously, but one of the things I appreciate about the redesign has been just the reduction, or the addition of green space and the reduction of the impervious. One thing I just wanted to check: have you guys gone before Concom, or are you planning on going before Concom now with the addition of more parking spaces and the splash pad in terms of water discharge and all that stuff?
We would be happy to. We did check with DCR before we even started this project to make sure that this would be a permissible project, obviously abutting DCR, but we'd be happy to go to conservation as well.
Okay, thank you. And then I just have more of a question for CPC about the parking and the flashing light. Are those items fundable under CPC? Because when I think about, for example, open space and recreation funds, I typically think of it going directly towards the benefit. And even though these things might assist in that, whether or not they are fundable.
We ran into this in the past at the golf course, and I'll have to double check because if it's an additional, I think the word they use is diminutive. So this is a little bit maybe bigger than that percentage wise, but it's not, like if you wanted to build a parking lot, no. But if the parking lot is part of what you're, an attribute of the project, yes. On-street parking improvements, I see that as parking, but I'll check with the coalition to be sure. I think yes, but let me double check because it's not like it's just pretend it was a $1.5 million project where 900,000 is parking,
Mhm.
right? It's a project that has great value and this is to make it happen, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, I'd appreciate if we can check, that would be helpful.
But we did run into this at the golf course and it was approved that it could be done.
Yeah, and I guess just a question for me then is especially, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but it being on street and especially the crosswalk kind of being like outside of the, if we think of like the scope of the, like the contained area in which the park is actually happening, whether or not that makes a difference either. And I guess just a question, perhaps a rhetorical question, but I think it's an actual question, is like, why should CPC fund these instead of just the DPW through the general fund in terms of like general street improvements? If these things are, you know, useful and needed, what, you know, could they go additional?
Travis, correct me if wrong, but Grant, it's like the flashing light thing. It's funny, like this was added on like the last meeting because literally, like, you know, some of us live right near Richards, where I don't know if you've seen, but one of the flashing lights went up. So we started talking about it. And that's when Travis reached out to Chris or whomever and found out, or Bill, and found out they're $50,000, but this is how the grant works. So like, cause same thing. We're like, well, that makes sense. We want one of those. I wouldn't say it's the make or break for the project. Hopefully we get, you know, qualified through the grant and the town takes care of it. If it was a major sticking point, you know, we could talk, you know, then we see if CPC can cover it. We see if maybe rec funds, if we'd want to cover it. I don't think it's like the sticking point for this project, but it certainly seems to make a lot of sense to us and hopefully would qualify under that grant. And I'm not sure we even got into the timing of the grant, Travis, with him, did we? Because they just got done with this existing grant.
Oh no, I didn't get it. I didn't get into the timing. I think it's definitely a little bit of a sticker shock because they're solar, and I was just surprised that they actually cost that much. I've never been through the exercise, so Bill educated me. I have looked up a few. I just did a quick search of the CPA database for Massachusetts, and there were, to Freddie's point, there are parking lots that are tied to projects that have been included with other CPA projects in other communities. But the blinking light's a good one, a good point.
Yeah, you know, and I only bring it up because oftentimes we ask, like, are there any other kind of alternative means of funding? And in this case, the general fund is one where, like, I'm not necessarily convinced. I'd like more information about whether or not the parking elements are strictly CPA fundable or not. But I think regardless, like a case could be made to the select board, for example, that like, hey, we need to revamp the parking and add a crosswalk here, and maybe not having to use CPA funds for it.
And out of our community forum meeting, and I've been filtering people to the DPW, so they hear this as well. So like one of the things that our commission recommended was when you get some of these concerns from residents or talk to them, have them talk to the DPW, because if they get on the list or if he hears enough, maybe there's a way that we can expedite the light there. So I've been filtering everybody to DPW that I talked to that would like to see the blinking light on Central.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm just gonna, in the odd case anyone does watch this, just to reiterate the point Travis just made, because it's an important one, and I'll give Don, you know, credit for this, reminding us that we've gotten a lot of great feedback about traffic on Central, parking on Winter, the obnoxious things that people do. And we are absolutely consuming that feedback, but really that feedback needs to go to DPW and or the police. So just a public PSA, you know, if you are experiencing problems there or anywhere, definitely let us know. But it's also important that DPW and or the police hear that feedback directly also.
Okay, I'm going to say at this point, let's move on from this. It's 8:45 and we still have two applicants sitting here. So
We do have a hand up.
we do have a hand up. Okay. Thank you for, who is it? Who is it?
Patty.
Patty. Go ahead, Patty. Is she brought over?
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. I just want to clarify one thing. I did send you all some images that I took, and I appreciate the response, Travis. But in the response that Travis sent to both myself and my neighbor Dean, and in what he said tonight, he seemed to indicate that those images were from last weekend or July 4th weekend, which was a very busy weekend. And that's not true. The pictures that I sent were all those cars were double parked, was taken on June 27th at about 2 p.m.
Okay. Thank you for the context, Patty.
I did reply to your email this afternoon and mention that. And I did put it in my original email that the pictures were from June 27th. I really do have a concern about this angled parking that you're proposing, just because people are going to be backing out into oncoming traffic on Central Street. Currently, there's I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like a buffer zone where there's the retaining wall of the park, which, as you well know, is fairly steep grade. And then there's like this, it's paved, but it's marked off with the yellow line. And you can pretty clearly see that in the images that I sent. There's a buffer zone that people use as like a sidewalk on that side of the Central Street. So it's maybe, I don't know, 4 feet wide or something like that. So that if you're going to a car or from a car to the stairs, or if you're like me and live in the neighborhood and you're walking down that way, there's a place to walk where you're not walking in the middle of Central Street. Is that going to be considered and included when you're making these angled parking spots? Because it seems like you're intending to build into the hill, the grade, and create another retaining wall. And I'm concerned that based on the drawings that I'm seeing here, that you're eliminating that buffer lane where people can walk between the park and cars.
Kristen, are you okay?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we need to, I know that was a talking point for us because we recognize that need for people to be able to get from their car to the field. I mean, that might be a question we have to, I would want to confirm it with Activitas unless you know, Travis.
Yeah, no,
I know exactly what you're asking, Patty, totally.
Yeah, it just seems on this drawing that I'm looking at of your plan that it's gone.
yeah, I'll double. It's a great point, Patty. I think there needs to be a walkway because I think if you're going to come off Central and you had any kind of accessibility issues across crosswalk, you would have to be able to get between the cars and the rail there to get.
I'm sorry, Travis, for anybody that is parking in a diagonal spot where the rear end of your car is 2 feet from the middle of Central Street, you need to be able to move forward and walk along the park to get to the stairs. Because if you also know there's a fence there that you can't just hop over the fence and roll down the hill. You need to walk to the stairway to get down the hill.
Yeah. And again, I think we need to get the official answer from Activitas, but I know that these are considerations we discussed. For example, to even get the grant that we were talking about for the flashing sign, we learned that, there's ADA requirements, for example, that included what Travis just said, that somebody could get across that crosswalk as well as maneuver to the appropriate place to get down to the fields. So that would imply in itself that there has to be that buffer. But I think that, we can go back and clarify that in writing with Activitas.
Who is it that determines whether angled parking with the criteria that the dimensions that you're suggesting, who is it that is responsible for determining if that is safe and acceptable? Is that the police or
Well,
DPW?
that's actually a great. I mean, that's part of the reason why. And again, Travis, cut me off if you already know the answer to this. But that's part of one of the things that we weren't sure about. Like, we want to, for example, get better signage to enforce the parking on Central Street. And we're like, well, who's the right body? And that's why I keep saying, if we have general consensus tonight that we're on the right track, then our next step is to put into writing our request for stronger signage, as well as the ability to make these improvements. We're going to, right now, unless we get further instruction, going to send it both to the select board and the planning board, because we're not sure who the right, decision authority is. But that would be our immediate next step coming out of this meeting, is to go to them and say, okay, this is what we'd like to move forward with. Who else do we need to speak with? And I know, again, Travis has already talked to DPW and the police, but to your point, there must be a formal decision process, and that's what we're
Right. And
we're going
I'm not talking about signage. I'm talking about
no
who
and the parking
determines
lot.
if it's safe for
Yeah.
the amount of space you're giving to angled parking for a car to park there and then back out into
Certainly
oncoming
not us.
traffic.
I agree with you. I mean, I do think Activitas we trust has some level of expertise, right, in this, and that they're the experts in what they gave us. So I would hope. I've asked the question before. I'm like, so they said this is all possible. So I'm hoping what they're giving us is would meet whatever criteria. But to your point, our next step would be, all right, who are the right authorities within Southborough? Who are the right boards and committees and departments that we need to go get to sign off on this?
And you would have those answers before town meeting. Where
Oh,
you're
yes. Yeah. We would go into town meeting with like, this is the parking plan. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and we try to be proactive with police and DPW, which would, I imagine, be the two key players in this decision process as well.
So just speaking about DPW, and I'm sure you also saw my neighbor Dean's photos where cars were parked all the way along Winter Street before the curve. So just like parallel to the park, even though there was a sign there very clearly saying no parking either side. And, that's something we see a lot. I mean, I've taken pictures where somebody is parked directly under the sign saying no parking either side. So I did actually send an email to Bill Cundiff today asking him what we would need to do in order to get signs that say no parking either side put on both sides for those people that don't understand the word either. So hopefully that can happen too.
Thank you, Patty.
All
so
right.
I have one more question I want to ask is that maybe like 2 weeks ago, I'm not quite sure of the date, but on the very active Southborough Facebook page that we have, there was somebody that started a conversation regarding dog parks, and there was quite a few comments on there. And if I remember correctly, I'm not sure there was one positive in favor comment of a dog park. Most people said they don't use them, although it's a nice idea. They don't use them because there's too many dogs that are out of control. And, with all these dogs of all different sizes off leash, that, somebody's little dog got, beat up or something like that. And I was really actually very surprised about the number of negative comments. And I was just wondering if you guys saw that.
I didn't see that particular one. I mean, I do follow the geek that I am, like other recreation areas, and I follow Northborough's dog park and Westboro. So, I mean, you're going to hear that, but keep in mind, like despite recent comments on the master plan, we take the master plan very seriously. And this has been a longstanding ask within the town. Not only that, we did a survey that Travis can speak to that was pretty well responded to as far as surveys go in Southborough, and just supporting this. We've been after a dog park for a long time, and this is literally the only location that we can find that we can put it in. Remember that originally we were looking at Lundblad Field. So
I know, I understand
the
that. And I know
feedback's been positive, but at the end of the day, though, we're here to say, look, we heard you. This is what we think the town wants, but then the town votes on it. So
I did tag recreation on that post just because I thought it would be important for you to see that. And I do hope that you go back and look at some of those comments to see what the issues were, and why people had a problem with potential taking their dogs and using a dog park.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in here.
Thank
I
you.
think Patty, point well taken, and I think Recreation can go and look at those comments in that post. I don't know that they can respond any further to it tonight, but I think the point was taken, that there were negative comments regarding it.
No, I'm curious to go look right now, so thank you.
Can I jump in just
Yes,
for
go ahead.
1 second? So I don't think Brett can answer every single question about what people's opinions are. That's what town meeting is for. I do also want to say that I work in the building department now, so I'm by no means an expert, but when someone like Activitas comes through with plans, they're stamped by an architect. They need to go through a really good process with the building commissioner, and you guys will have to be pulling permits as you go. And our building commissioner right now is very strong and he's very safety focused. So anything that gets through is going to be to the most, the highest degree of professionalism and safety. So I wouldn't even question that. It is great to go back to Activitas with certain questions, but I'm pretty sure that it's all going to be safe and to code.
All right. All right, Patty, is that it?
Thanks, Katie.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
All right. All right, next up,
Thank
Southborough.
you, Travis. Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Travis, sorry.
No, thank you for the mix up on the application. I will send a new one tomorrow. Thank you
No,
for all
that's-
the
Thank you.
updates.
That's great. And Katie, would you mind when we get the updated application from Travis and we put the golf and trails updated on the website? That would be great if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tony, thanks for hanging out with us. I know you didn't have anything better to do tonight, did you?
It's been so much fun.
But now
Thank you for coming.
Signs and what
How are
we
you
want
all
to do
tonight?
in Greenville.
Good. So Tony, why don't you just go ahead and give a little bit of an update? You did send in an updated application. Thank you. It was great to get it in. It was great for the information on it. Do you want to just give a summary, an
2
update?
years ago, that at a town meeting, an irrigation system was approved. It went out to bid. The bids came in high and we realized we needed a booster station. So this new application reflects updated pricing and the need for a booster station. It's pretty simple.
Okay, I have a ton of questions, so I'll go last. I'll kind of go down the line. And I want Freddie to also give a Audubon International update because that is an outstanding and open project as well. So I'll go last. So go ahead, Ellen. And thank you for coming to me.
Yes, thank you for coming, thank you for your patience and for your application. So, see, the question I had for you, and then I have one for Freddie and Lisa as well.
Perfect.
So looking at the breakdown of this budget, which is really helpful to see at this level of detail, there's 25,000 contingency in the other system costs. Is there additional contingency funds somewhere else in the project, or is that everything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And do we feel like that's sufficient, or would we then be adding?
Bill Cundiff hired a consultant to come up with this price estimate. I asked the same question. The consultant said he was comfortable with this.
Okay. Thank you. And so my question more for Freddie is that understanding both this project and the Trails project in sort of a similar light as ones that were approved at town meeting, went out to bid, bids came back drastically higher. I'm trying to understand better our process for these groups then coming back and applying for whether it's additional funding on top of what was already approved or applying for the whole amounts again, because I think there seem to be different approaches between these two projects. So I would just like to understand that a little bit better.
Okay, for me, this I'm going to have to go back. What you have to do is look at the original warrant article and application, because the article is dependent on as presented in the application and to the CPC. If this is just a new additional, the pump, that, you know,
Station, yeah.
and increased cost likely can be added to the existing. The difference between the trails is the project significantly changed. So it's not the same project. We also will have to look, if, I don't know if you, and I'm sorry, I don't have it on the top of my head. Other things in the article that were, like the trails had a project to be completed by date. They're not going to make that. We did not in the past, and my recommendation, because you just started doing it more recently, the sunset clause is to make it with like the contingency with a discussion with the CPC if it goes over. Because now you're stuck, like if it's not done, the project's over, right? So like, how do you deal with that? So I'm going to double check if that is in there and if there's a way to finesse that if it is, so that we don't have to end, you know, because the other option is to, and it's always challenging where you have to, close the old project out, return the funds, and then go for the whole kit and caboodle all over again. I'm also thinking about in the old article, there was contingency funding. And I didn't actually double check if that's more than what you're asking for now. So to make sure the two budgets match up, I'll go through with a fine tooth comb.
Okay.
That makes sense. 78,750 in contingency in the prior, I had one.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and it was, project completion was by 12/1/26 as well in the warrant article.
So that needs to
No
be,
opportunity for an extension from what I saw.
what?
And there was no opportunity for an extension by
Right,
CPC.
we didn't used to put it in, so,
Yeah.
'cause it was new, so I think we may, I will get information on if there's a way to, I don't want to say massage it, but so without having to take all the money out and, you know, put it back and then put it back, as a whole project, because there's always risk in that, because you have funding for irrigation right now, except for the date, correct? So if this didn't pass a town meeting, you still would have that existing funds, except for the sunset clause.
Yeah,
So, which is why you would want to consider, I'm not saying you should do one or the other, but you'd want to consider best practice, whether it is to, you know, start all over again and have that short period of time where, you know, there could be some lost opportunity. Because you could still do some kind of irrigation with the funding that's there if you found a way to do it, you know, whether it's, you know, so.
so I'm gonna ask a quick question on that, Ellen, just to kind of expand on that a little bit. So say as we progressed and we got to 8/31 and we said, you know what, we're not gonna get everything we need to do for this. At the very least, don't we have to go back to town meeting and ask to extend the 12/31 date?
Or something, yes, because, and I will find out if you
Okay.
have to close it out. I mean,
Is that a council question, town council?
it might be,
Okay.
yeah. And hopefully we get a nice simple answer that you can just
Okay.
make a, like one thing he said to do on another project was to document everything and, you know, and maybe making it. I'll find out. And we'll also check with the coalition if they've run into this before. Even if it's not, and if it's a legal question, it's a legal question, but
Yeah.
it might give
We
us
can do
some
a
guidance.
request. Yeah.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Freddie, are you thinking like we might be able to just extend it as a vote as part of the CPC and not go to whatever, I'm speculating, we'll get the answer.
Yeah, I don't believe the article gives you that authority.
Agreed.
But how big of you know, that's a legal counsel question, I believe.
Completely. Okay. Do you have anything else, Ellen? Okay, Grant?
Yeah, thanks for the revised application. I have a few things. First, in terms of things that I think maybe should be added to another revision of the application. there's a feasibility report section. I think we did get a feasibility report from you from December 2025, talking about the need for a booster pump and everything. I think just to list it and maybe attach it to the application would be useful in a revision, or just acknowledge that it exists. Similar, these are just kind of administrative stuff. There's like a checkbox in the application just to acknowledge your receipt and of our kind of CPC handbook about the process and everything.
Button didn't work.
Oh, it didn't work. Okay.
Yeah, so the form is buggy, I will say.
Okay,
So
that is
the
good to know.
button didn't work.
Good answer.
I'm putting a check mark on my
And I will say
copy.
you should not point anyone at the PDF document because that's a disaster.
Yeah, I think did we replace it
So
with
that
the
should
word?
just be deleted.
Yeah, I think we replaced it with the word. Sorry about that.
I wasted too much time on that PDF.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we have updated that, right?
Yep, yeah, the Word
Okay.
docs on there. PDF is.
And then under open projects, I believe there is one open project,
Correct.
which is the Audubon International one, which
Yeah.
is from annual town meeting 2018. So that should also be listed in a revision to the application.
There's another one as well.
Is there? Okay.
Well, it's not, sorry, let me step back. It's
Well,
not-
there's the existing irrigation one. Yeah, I guess both of those are technically open projects, right? The
There's an
one,
invasive one, but it's not the golf clubs. It's on the property, so that's doesn't count.
oh, do they need to list their 2024 one? I mean, I think it's self-explanatory.
553,000
Do they have to?
should be
List
listed
that.
as.
Again, it's just.
No, well, I think they're documented it enough within here that there's approved funds of 553. It's even on the front page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
This is
I
part
think
of
it's
that
fine.
project. It's not a.
Yeah, it was mainly the Audubon one that I just wanted to.
Good question though, Brent.
So I have a question about I guess the cost savings of the system. So in the application, we talk about how it would result in less water wasted and be more efficient to operate. In terms of who would actually like receive those cost savings, is that the golf management company, New England Golf, or is that the town that would result in some sort of operational cost for them?
It's a good question. I don't know who pays the water bill. I don't know so I don't know the answer to that. Does anyone here happen to know the answer? I don't know the answer to that. So let me get that answer.
Okay, that'd be great.
But I think, regardless, it sort of comes back to the town in the end because you sign a contract with the management company and they have assumptions about how they're going to operate the course, and any funds then sort of flow back to the town, on a schedule. I think the savings come back to the town in sort of an indirect way, but let me try to see if I can make that a little more clear.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Both and so it comes down to water and also staffing.
Okay,
Because the management company has really sort of an unreasonable staffing load to operate the current irrigation system. It's just way too manual. And so certainly, as you might be aware, that this, and then somewhat near future, the next year or two or three, it's likely this project is going to be put out to bid again for a management company to bid on it again.
okay.
And it would be a more advantageous bidding process for Southborough if it wasn't such a difficult water system to operate.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. Let's see. Similar question in terms of the management company. Under the maintenance section, I think you had said that New England Golf will be responsible for the maintenance of this new system. Similarly, is that do they just kind of implement or execute the maintenance of it and the town pays, or is it that the golf company is the one actually paying for?
I think this means sort of like if a head breaks, like a water, their sprinkler head,
Okay.
that breaks, they would make that sort of repair. Yeah, I don't think they're not going to make a repair to the booster station, in my opinion. That's the new pipe. If a pipe fails underground, I don't know that they're going to make that repair. But I think sort of smaller maintenance repairs they can make on their own.
Okay.
And they certainly do that with the current irrigation system.
Okay, and then the rest would be just on town to fix, is that
I
right?
think if there was a larger item, then maybe it would have to come back to a town budget somehow. But I haven't, in my time on the golf committee, I haven't seen anything like that so far.
Okay, that's helpful, thanks. Just a quick question. Do you have any like a map or a schematic or any kind of what the irrigation system would
Yeah,
look
the
like?
map that was included in the
Okay.
application 2 years ago. We could probably dig that out.
Okay. Yeah, and I can also figure that out too if it was included in that. So,
Okay.
thank you.
It's a very simple map. It shows the course and pipes going down the middle and a whole bunch of heads.
Yeah. Well, actually, it might be useful because we have
Absolutely.
a lot of new members. So
Yeah.
that'd be great if you could send them one.
I would suggest that any application new should have everything in it so that nobody has to go back to 2 years ago to put in something relevant to today.
In terms of the bylaw compliance section of the application, do you know, would this, I don't know the specifics of it, but essentially, would you need to go to Concom to get this system approved with all the kind of disruption of the disruption of land that would be involved with the irrigation
I
system?
think so.
Okay. And so you have plans to do something?
I think that's correct.
Okay, great. Let's see, I have some more technical questions, which I think I'll save those for Bill when we next see him. In terms of the golf course revolving fund, so I believe there's 100,000 that you will be chipping in. Is that right?
That's the proposal.
Just curious about what the current balance of the golf course revolving fund is.
Last report I got from Mark Purple was that, and this was as
It was somewhere in our
June
documents.
8th. It was about $200,000, but some of that was going to be spent on some fencing and some other repairs, trees. So there was going to be about $175,000 left in the revolving fund.
Okay.
With more monies expected this year. So, but some other projects that are being contemplated. But I think you can think about it, there being about $200,000 in that bucket right now.
Okay, that are like not committed to other things.
That's right.
And Grant, that was the June 10th, 2026. It was a letter from Bill that had that
okay.
broken out in there, just so you know.
I will go back and look at that. Thank you. So I guess I'll just put in a plug for it's obviously an expensive application and would encourage like as much of a contribution from the golf course revolving fund as you guys can manage. I think would go a long way with us, probably in terms of reducing the burden on taxpayers through CPA. So I would definitely be in favor if you can find it in your budget with other things going on to increase that. But obviously 100,000 is welcome.
100,000 is a good number too.
It's a good number.
And I think that's it for me for now.
Okay, Katie?
I'm somewhat new, so I do remember your article coming before town meeting, and as a resident, I support it, and as a CPC member, I support it as well. I think it falls in the four corners, and that's all I have. So I think it's a great thing.
Thank you, Katie. Kristen?
I've got two questions. Grant kind of touched on one, although I'll admit I'm not fully clear yet in my head on how the revolving fund is going to come into play. And that honestly, it very much could be a me problem. Like we're allocating $100,000 this year out of the revolving fund. Is anything going into the general fund? I know that was kind of a question at one point. No.
No, that they pulled that article from town meeting.
Okay, that's helpful. And then is it like a one-time only thing? Meaning would we be coming back in subsequent years to get any of the money from the revolving fund?
I don't believe we can do that.
We looked into that when we were talking about bonding before, and no, it's a one-time thing.
Okay. Well, that answers both my questions on that. And then the Audubon, and I'm not going to pretend to be like the biggest expert. We spent a lot of time talking about the Audubon requirements, Audubon Society requirements in previous meetings. In terms of commitments that we had intended to move forward with as part of our work with the golf course. Am I right in saying that? And where do those things stand?
As Freddie and everyone well knows, this project Audubon discussion goes back to when the course was acquired by the town.
Yep.
10 years ago, 8 years
Condition.
ago.
It was a condition.
And there have been on again and off again progress being made on getting that established. It is very much on over the last 6 months, getting this fully established. The golf course committee working with Freddie, I think on a concrete path. And so I think this is moving forward right now.
And Kristen, what I'm going to do is my plan is after we ask our questions, I'm going to ask Freddie that that exact question, just to kind of give us an update. I know that there's steps that have already been taken. I don't want to speak for Freddie, but I'm going to ask Freddie to kind of give us an update on that as well.
Okay, perfect. What I'm driving at, and I don't necessarily have all the right questions to ask is, and I kind of like this from the rec conversation with Claire, is like making sure we're all on the same page of like, what are those loose ends that we think have to be tied up by 8/31, and just making sure we're all on the same page as to what those loose ends are.
Absolutely. Was that it, Kristen?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. All right, now you get me. So I do have a few questions. So initially I'll start with the letter from June 10th. So there was talk of SVT and regarding the pumping station, and there hadn't been a new conversation. I kind of liked to see that conversation happen. It was number 5. Nevertheless, we are happy to follow up with Sudbury Valley trustees to confirm their position and provide the committee with any additional information received. I'd like to have that done just to make sure that we don't get down the line and they disagree with the pumping station and there's an issue, because what you're adding is different than what they originally approved. So Bill said it's not a big deal. I would just like to see that happen.
Okay, I'm just not aware of that correspondence. I'm sure I
Sure.
was copied on that. So
Okay, so I can forward it to you, Tony.
Forward that to me.
Absolutely.
Follow up.
Yep. I'm just going to write this, send it to Tony. Okay. Yes. So, and then that leads to a second part of my question that goes to kind of what Grant talked about. So should it have Concom approval? Because what if Concom has an issue, for instance, in my application, it was, sorry, I have way too many papers sitting here on. Yes, the scope. So I have it. Thank you. So on the scope, and it was again included in that document from Bill, it talked about permitting, and it said the scope of work will include revisiting the current Concom approved erosion and control plans and proposing a new, less costly approach to include more limited erosion control and boring under the stream. The system will be designed and bid not to inhibit Audubon international requirements. So I have a few concerns with that in a couple different ways. So the bid that you have for this is for proposing a less costly approach to erosion control and the stream. So I would definitely be interested to what Concom has to say about that. Because what if Concom disagrees with this approach? What cost-wise potentially might that change? I have way too many notes here. Okay, so that's partially that piece. I think definitely Concom should be involved before, this goes, but I would be interested to hear if they're on board with this as well as SVT. Okay. I'm going to get to Freddie to give an update. I think when we talked about open projects, we talked about the Mass Audubon, and that's old, and we want to make sure that this is done within the standards. So I have a couple other things, but I'll toss this to Freddie. Can you give us an update as far as where in the process it is with Mass Audubon? And then I'm going to ask the committee I think the Mass Audubon piece is important to this process. So I would like Freddie as our consultant to work with the golf course committee to continue to make sure that this is taking place and we're having progress on this. Sorry, it's getting late. So Freddie, I'm going to toss it up to you.
So the good news is I attended the last golf course committee meeting was it club? And they voted to approve submitting the language we came up as a draft for the RFP that's going to go out. And I'm working with the liaison, Brianna, from committee to follow up on that. Melissa from Conservation is going to create the draft RFP and put it out, and hopefully, as soon as possible, find a consultant to start working on the management plan and then put that into play. The question is, we don't know how long, when people respond, like this could be their busy time of year. So I don't know how long it will take to get an actual management plan, but we wrote it that they will be reviewing the plans for the irrigation system. So a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what the Audubon International Program is, and the goal is to work towards getting certified. But in that process, like when this first started, the intention was it's for new construction or renovations of existing courses. And they want to be sure that that is done appropriately. And there's a process within the Audubon International. It's not just handing them a drawing and saying, is this okay? I mean, that's better than nothing, but it's to have a team put together with different members representing the golf course, the management company, SVT, the CR holders, wildlife experts, golf experts, if I didn't already say that. So it's a team that works together and reviews things. And when they first come up, like they want water quality sampling. And I'm not sure if that's going to come into play, but they're talking about boring under the stream. I think that's going to come into play. So as they're doing the construction, you want to be sure that you're not degrading the habitat or the conservation values of the property, as well as the water quality. There's also requirements for reporting on chemicals used. And, because we haven't been engaged in it, that hasn't been done. So that will be starting up. And that was a big deal for people who were not that comfortable with having the golf course operation. They said, well, we got the land, let's just keep it as open space because you have a CR on it. And, part of I was on the Open Space Commission at the time, and we were convinced that this was a great value for the town for both conservation and recreation values. And the Audubon International was a way of putting that together and giving people a level of confidence. And that's why actually, many people don't know that Audubon International, they just took the name Audubon. It's not like they're an Audubon bird, they're a golf industry centric organization that was trying to help clean up the image of golf courses as being these chemical laden pollutants, bad for the environment. And they are committed to that mission. So it's a win-win for the town. It's win-win for confidence that, things are being operated in the best way possible. And even though it's a little bit late down the road from when we did all the construction of the poles reconstructed and stuff, this is a big deal having this irrigation. You're talking about boring under a stream. I think, that's certainly something that we want expert eyes on. So I'm happy to hope that this is going to happen. The timing's going to be a tight little bit of Melissa's got other things on her plate, try to get this out this week and then get the responses in and then hire someone and have them start working on it. And as they're working on it, to be reviewing this project as it moves forward and providing advice during the construction, but also to this committee. And August 31st, you can, always make your vote conditional on getting some more things done before town meeting. And not like you want to do that, but if it's that tight, because you don't want to hold this up. Although,
Okay. So my thought process was Freddie's been more involved in this and her other hat that she wears or wore. So to me, it makes sense to have her continue to work with, because we really, again, as we move towards closing out projects, and I think with this project as well, where Audubon International is going to come into play, making sure that it meets the criteria. And Bill has acknowledged that. And Tony, I did send you that note. I emailed it to you from 610, the memo. So that's my thoughts. I mean, I don't know if everybody is good with that, then, we can have Freddie, looks like we're getting shaking heads, work with getting this done and sooner rather than later. Okay, good. We have a lot of shaking heads. Okay, and the last piece I have for you, Tony, it should be an easy question, is there's a spending cap on the revolving fund of $75,000. how are we going to navigate the 100,000 if it's over the spending cap?
You'll have to ask someone who understands the legality of that much more than I do.
Okay, okay, so again, that's on my list, and it would be good if you could talk to Mark Purple or whomever. I'd be happy to do it, but it's your application, so, yeah, just ask how they're gonna handle the spending cap if, if this moves forward.
If I recall correctly, doesn't town meeting
No,
that, no.
it's
Well,
usually
town
set-
meeting set the revolving at annual town meeting.
correct. And to exceed the cap, you need the approval of both the select board and the advisory committee.
Okay, okay,
That's the way the law
we'll,
works.
we'll double check it anyway, we'll just make sure, so. Again, not questioning you, Mr. Lit, I'm just saying. Okay. Perfect, so that was my other question, so if that's the way it is, then that's not a non-issue, as long as those votes get taken. Okay, that's all I have, and I will email you and Bill after we set our next meeting date tonight, so you can know where we're at.
Thank you for your time.
Awesome, thank you so much, thank you for hanging around. Kat, welcome. I know you just wanted to spend the evening with us, Okay, so.
Need a hard copy of the application I submitted at 7.
No.
A new one tonight or,
Yep.
I didn't even see it. Hold on.
Anyone want a hard copy?
Yes, please.
I'll take one since it's already printed out.
Oh, there it is, 7:06. Okay.
Yeah. So do you want this one?
Oh, I got it on my computer, so I'm good. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Updated scope, maybe CPA. Okay, do you want to just give a brief update, Kat? And again, I haven't looked, I had questions on the old application.
Yeah, I can tell you, can you hear me? I can tell you exactly what was changed.
Okay,
So this is just a
I'm
second.
gonna pull up the old one then, because I'll go by that.
So the overall price was lowered by 2,500 due to a quote update. I updated the scope to try to explain the complexities of the past application. I'm figuring we're gonna have a few iterations of that, but it was an attempt, and that's into the first project scope section.
I know.
I added the conservation committee.
Hold on one second. Terry, is this mic on? It sounds really quiet.
So that's the town system, everything sounds, I don't have control over.
Are the mics here? Oh,
So.
How's that?
better.
Yes, I can
Good.
hear it on everything, but this is the room lights and it's tracked. Under control.
Okay.
How's that?
There you go.
Okay, so I lowered the price by 2,500. The updated scope is to help explain some of the history of the application, the funding. I added the Conservation Commission support letter and just some clarifying notes on the bridge quote, and I reorganized the pictures. So not that substantial.
All right, so, that being said, we'll just kind of go down the line. I do have questions, but I will have a little less. Ellen.
Sure. Thank you for coming, for hanging in there, for the very detailed application. Yeah, before I get into my questions, just really appreciate the narrative in here, the description of support over the years. I know this has been a process, and so it was very helpfully laid out in the first application, and it looks like even more so in this one. So my first question might be addressed in the updated one, but I was curious about the budget and the ET Tektronix page that was included, and just kind of how the numbers on there fit into the overall budget.
Yeah, it's a good question, and we may not want to include the bridge quote, but essentially what we did and what I tried to explain in the application is the total project is 65% of the highest bid that we received in December. So the bridge quote is just one component of that. And so the numbers won't add up. So if that's going to cause more confusion, we're happy to take it out. We're trying to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
Okay, I appreciate that. So that is one piece of then that 65%.
Correct.
That makes total budget. Okay. Looking at the timeline and the chart you put together there, I think all of ours looks like page 9 on these old ones. So the essence of my question is just how the timeline would change depending on the Mass Trails grant. If you could explain that a little more.
Yes, and actually what I'm noticing is the dates did not, from the timeline did not transfer to the second table, which would be helpful. So I can make sure those are added. But the difference is the waiting for the Mass Trails grant to the announcements. So essentially, if we're looking at the top chart, you'll see that we have the Mass Trails grant announced. So the grant application is due on the Feb 27th, and that's the same in both. And then the difference starts to become when the Mass Trails grant announcement is made, it's made between May and June. I put July because you give them a little bit of space. So that's when the announcement would be made, and we wouldn't be able to do anything until after that. And then contracting would come next, and that's a few months of contracting. So that's why it goes out into October 2027. And then we would be able to start the project, ideally by November, which start means go to bid in that timeframe. Does that help answer that question?
Yes. So just how does that impact when you anticipate the project being complete? Since that last column is.
Right. So if we don't get the Mass Trails grant, for example, then we would be able to instead of, prepare bid. So we would start in June 2027 rather than November 2027. So it advances the timeline a few months.
Okay. Thank you. And moving between too many windows. So just a question about the maintenance question. And so you noted the committee will be responsible for identifying maintenance issues, would be funded through budget, grants, other available sources. And my question was just if there's any kind of planned maintenance or known things you're going to have to replace, or depending on the material, if it needs to be sealed or kind of whatever that's known at this point.
Yeah, not additional. So one of the reasons we chose the modular bridge is because of the longevity. There's like a 75-year lifespan. Now I'm assuming if we change the board, the decking to wood, that 75 years would change depending on the type of wood we're using. So there isn't a specific number that we have or an understanding at this point of what the maintenance or when that would come up. But you can imagine a boardwalk, the decking being exposed for 10 to 15 years. Some of the decking is going to loosen maybe, or some may start to deteriorate. And so those are the types of things we'll might likely be able to do spot maintenance on and won't be that costly. As far as the structure of the bridge, we're not expecting to in our lifespan address maintenance issues unless there's anomalies, which we would hope to identify, obviously, with our engineering oversight ahead of time.
Thank you. I think that's it for me.
Okay. Thank you, Grant.
Yeah, thanks, Kat, for a great application again. I really appreciate you kind of keeping with the original scope of the project instead of paring back. I think result in a better outcome or for town residents. I have a couple questions on the budget. My understanding is when you crafted the budget, you did it based on the highest or a percentage scaler or something on top of the highest bid that you received.
Yep.
I was just hoping to get a sense of what the range of bids that you received was at that time in terms of the price, if they were all kind of bunched or.
Yeah, we received 2 bids. One was the one we're included, I think was 448. I think if I'm remembering, right, the other was 424.
Okay, so pretty close.
Yeah,
And
the deviation wasn't that.
okay, and so you're going with the higher one just to be safe, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Another question, which I think is probably more for Freddie, but I think in the budget, there's a 20% contingency built in. We normally do 10%, is that right? Or 20 seems higher than we normally do, or?
I believe we've done 15%. Construction is different and maybe there's a reason for this to be at 20%. So, again, only for funds that are not foreseen at the time
Yep. And it would still
of
need
the
an
application,
authorization.
and the CPC gets to determine if you can use them. So I don't know what the current best management is, whether 15% is too high or not, but I think having a conversation with Kat why she chose 20% would be worthwhile.
Last time we had the application, Ben was the chair of CPC and he recommended 20% for this type of project. So that's why we landed at 20.
That's all. Just given the history of this project, I hate to come back to well, you've already been at 3 town meetings, but for this part of it specifically, a 3rd town meeting or something, if bids come back higher. So I'm fine with erring on the side of caution on this one. Let's see. This might have been in there, but I might have missed it. The Mass Trails grant application, how much are you applying for?
Yeah, I was just looking at that over. So it looks like for a trails grant, the maximum amount would be 100,000. So that means we would not get 100% covered from Mass Trails. However, if Mass Trails would qualify this, so for shared use path, this is not that, but they said shared use and regional trails, you could qualify for up to 500,000. I would have to ask to see if this would qualify. I'm kind of thinking it won't qualify because the shared use is a specific type of use where they allow bikes and all sorts of different things. And it's what we see for rail trails. And although this will qualify as a regional trail, I'm not sure they would consider it in the same bucket. It would just be a question I can ask and see what they would say. So we can know that in the next month.
Okay, no, that's really helpful. So essentially what I'm thinking about this potentially, or you'll be applying for up to 100 as of right now, and we could expect if that was to be granted, 100 to be taken
That
off of
would,
the cost.
right, and they have the right to assign whatever number they want to it, right? So
Up to that
even though
amount.
we request 100, it would be their call.
Okay, great.
And Grant, it was roughly 15%, just under 15% contingency on the original 211,000.
Okay, in the prior application.
In the prior application, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just in terms of the timeline, I know one might finish earlier than the other based on with CPA funds only versus not, but I would just, again, being paranoid about not having to come back to a 3rd town meeting, I would be very generous. I recommend being very generous with the timeline there, just on CPC sides in terms of after 28.
You think beyond December 2028?
I think so. I really don't want you to lose your funds, to be honest with you, but maybe not that far. And then, I don't know, early 2029 and then come back to us or something, but
Maybe June 30th.
like, I don't want you to lose your funds because of the deadline, which we're seeing on a.
We're talking about, sorry, is it okay? We're talking about adding in language to come to the CPC for an extension. So you put, the deadline is not a drop dead deadline moving forward because we've learned, when this was the first go around and you've learned now that that doesn't work with a drop dead, but I think you want to have a realistic deadline so that, you can try to end these projects more.
Yeah, and CPC can extend it versus having to potentially go back to town meeting.
I understand. I just meant, one might end in 2027, one might end in 2028. It looks like based on Mass Trails, I would be going for, I would want to build in based on assuming the later deadline, I would say. Assuming that's an accurate deadline, then so end of 2028 is my preference between that and an earlier date. Just my opinion. Let's see. You might have already had this in a prior application, but is there a concept footbridge and bridge will be going?
Yeah, if you look at the last page of the document I just sent, I had some preliminary pictures. But these photos,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can see the overview map on the top left with perspective of the peninsula. And then it gets zoomed in after that. It's a little hard with the dark,
Sure.
white images, but I sent it in an email, so you'll be able to see that.
Okay, great. I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
And the one in the lower right-hand corner is the actual location of and the water's high in this picture. But it fluctuates throughout the.
Oh, the picture, yeah.
Depending on how MWA is managing the flow that day.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that is better than the black and white.
It's great to leave on the screen too.
Yeah, thank you. And then my last question, which is probably stupid, I guess I'll say, is the land that the trail's on currently protected for park use? Or so I saw in the application that you said that conservation restriction would not be required. I'm assuming it's protected for recreational use in some other way. Is that right?
We're permitted with an 8M permit with MWA that they own this piece of land, so they've permitted that for recreational use.
Okay, and it can't be used for any other use?
Can it be used for any other use? It's their land, so I'm gonna assume it can be, but I can't answer that for MWA, but I'm happy to get any additional information if that helps get to the answer that you're looking for.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm
For
just mainly
recreation
interested.
projects, there's a requirement that land be
Permanently.
permanently. And because it's MWRA land, it probably isn't permanently. They can decide to not use that as a reservoir and use the land differently in the future. So it may be a unique situation because it's DCR, but people unfortunately believe that reservoir land is
Always protected.
is protected. It's not. There's no protection on that at all. They could decide to drain the reservoir and
Yeah.
see if they could do something else on
Well,
it.
that's why I wasn't sure on the specific parcel, if there's a deed restriction or something already existing. Like, for example, the Fay Memorial Park has a deed saying this land is owned by whoever at the time, or this land is being conveyed, but it can only be used for a park.
Right.
I wasn't sure if something similar existed here or if there's any other kind of permanent protection. So I guess if you have any or can get any info on that, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, so the question would be, because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to ask, is this permanently available for recreation? But, I can say that CPC's asked about how should we frame it? Like, how long do you anticipate this being a recreational path? Do you have any plans for changing it in the next 20 to 25, 30 years? Like those types of things. We'll get
No,
into that.
so
I think
here's the issue. It's why he's asking. It's a legal requirement, just like when you buy land, there has to be a conservation restriction on it. So for recreational projects, there needs to be deeded for recreation. Isn't that what we were told? And I'll double check again.
It could be a question for Stuart.
I'll ask Stuart because what I was trying to get at is because it's DCR land and it's water, shed protection, it might be different.
Well, this is MWA land on this side. DCR is on the other side. It's just a weird.
MWA.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if you have
It doesn't matter.
Okay,
like
as
legal
long as you-
authorization, which I think you do, saying you
Right,
can build a
I'll
path
check. We
here.
don't need, we won't know tonight. I will find
She'll
out.
check.
So you'll
What's
check. Yeah, I
required.
won't ask yet until you.
I'll find out what you need to ask.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I know it hasn't been a problem in the first 3 phases or whatever of the trails.
I know.
And the trail.
What are we gonna do?
But
Yeah.
I just thought I would
Learn more,
ask.
do better, right?
Yeah, so, and that's it for me. Thanks.
Great. Katie.
I don't have any questions. It's great.
Kristen.
Sorry, one sec. No, this has been great. Good questions. I was kind of focusing in on sorry, I'm having issues with the doc. I think we've worked through this with Kat, right? So now when I look at pages, I think it's 5 and 6. Sorry, I gotta scroll back up here.
Oh, yeah. Project outline. Yeah.
Yeah, and then explaining sorry, I blew it out. Yeah, so page 5 with project scope and then talking about why the project changed.
Yeah.
I think this is all really good, right? Like this is what we have been working towards collectively to understand like all the moving parts.
Yeah.
So I was trying to read this as if I was a citizen who had not been in all these conversations.
Right.
to see if it would make sense to me. And the only thing that might trip me up a little bit, and again, I'm just kind of sharing this is food for thought.
Yeah.
And I want, obviously, recreation supports this, I support this, but we have a lot of projects coming together at the same time. When I look at prior CPA investment and we go down to kind of like separately at the 2024 annual town meeting, voters approved 211,000, et cetera, et cetera. And we go on to say that we would like to use the existing 211, 232 for the revised pedestrian footbridge, obviously getting rid of the other, scope of that work. That all makes sense to me, but I think, do people understand that that money isn't kind of going back into a trails bucket? It goes back into the larger bucket. I'm kind of doing devil's advocate, is it clear to people that that money isn't still earmarked for trails, the 211,232? Does that make sense?
I think so, but isn't it still earmarked as of today? Like, it doesn't run out until the end of this year. So technically, when we go to town meeting in October, it's still earmarked for the project.
Well,
unless
for
the
the
committee
original-
decides.
I want to answer that.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
I might want to get some more professional advice on this, but my takeaway is that money is earmarked for a project that has changed now. You will need to, I believe the committee has some discretion on when to close it out and return the funds back to their account. But one of the problems is the project, if this doesn't pass and you have that money, it's a different project. I mean, things that were in the original project are no longer going to be done.
One component is not getting done, and that's the boardwalk.
That's a big deal.
It can be a big deal, but I wouldn't use the word significant. I would say the project scope has changed, and the boardwalk is no longer getting.
You can't have a project that has a boardwalk and a bridge for a certain amount of money that no longer has a boardwalk. It's not the same project in my
Correct.
mind.
It's changed, but I'm just encouraging us not to use the word significant, because I don't know that it's considered significant when one component of a component, has changed. That's all I'm saying. So I understand what you're saying. So
It's not insignificant. It's
okay.
It was a big, you're saying it's 65%. That's 35%.
No, 65% is the bridge. 35% is a boardwalk.
So a 35% of the project is not being done under the new proposal. What's being paid for.
Sure. Okay, fine.
I just think, so there's I'm just trying to point out the complexity of, you can't just leave the money there and then go use it without doing something to document to town meeting. What happened.
Right.
And I think that was kind of my point, like, because I've been sitting in all these conversations, I read that and I'm like, yep, all right, this makes sense. That was the only part that I was like, all right, if I was, someone not in the know reading that, and again, I want all the projects to pass, but it does make it sound like, well, we still have that funding. And I get what you're saying too, Kat. I'm just saying, like, in a year when we have a lot of competing projects, do people have to understand that they're going to ask us, like, at the end of the day, how much do we have to spend and how are we going to treat that 211,000?
Right. And I guess I think, so we can revise the language however it needs to be so it's clear. We're not trying to misrepresent anything. It's hard.
I know that. I'm just doing the,
No,
putting my hat
I
on.
appreciate it, the devil's advocate, but I do want to say, like, if, for example, if it doesn't pass, and we've talked about having a backup plan for if this doesn't pass at town meeting, because is there a way we can still have a motion that we could make and have the town vote on, would they use existing funds, the 211 for the bridge, say nothing else, but just the 211, so we could at least go to, still use that as matching funds for.
I think that's what Freddie was kind of
So
saying.
I'm trying to say, I need to get better clarity because these are legal questions on some level, that you have a project that's funded and how to, so the goal is to create the whole project. And I think there's been huge support in doing that, and I think how we phrase it is not like when I was just talking about significant or insignificant. That's for the committee's knowledge, not to go and say, oh, we're not doing this is a big deal. And there's some other questions that will come up, but the boardwalk, there's been work done to replace that component in another way, but it just creates complexity because you have like just say if you were building a school and it had 2 buildings and now you're only building 1 building, people are going to say, and it's more money. You have to be able to explain how that works in what you're building today. And I think, especially because the golf course also came in with a bigger price ask, that, finances, people know things have changed. There's been increased cost and a lot of different things. So
Yeah.
I don't think it will be hard, and it's going to be 2 levels. I think it's up to the CPC how you format the warrant article, number 1. And then the presentation will be number 2. But you got to have all your ducks in a row on how this transition of the money. I'm not a fan of necessarily closing the article out now and putting the money back, because there's still, especially until we find out what could be used after town meeting if it didn't pass. If it didn't pass.
You gotta
But
leave that open.
I don't think,
Yep.
I think it's a great, it's a good project, so I'm not sure that.
Can I ask that?
Yep, go ahead, and then we'll go
Okay.
back to Kristen.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Just to your point, Freddie, about the format of the article, I'm looking at the way the application is phrased on here, and the application requests to continue the previously authorized 211, consider 44 remaining from phase 1, appropriate additional funding, extend the project. Can we do all of this in one warrant article? Is this one?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
So I have to see where the committee ends up and then figure out how the best way would be to have it in one warrant article. And it will have to be, you don't want to be like, oh, we're doing, too many moving pieces. So like how you write it is, I think it can be done. And the closing out of the articles is a separate step. But, and then there's also consideration. Do we just say, this is the total project amount and we're taking it out of these accounts? And there was prior, and a simple thing, and we have to document, there was prior funding whose monies will be returned to the accounts they came from. And we don't have to do all of that in the warrant article. So to make it, if you move forward with this, because you haven't voted on it, how to write the warrant article is secondary to, and making it, and also getting some advice on the best practice to do this. We've had conversations with council leading up to this where we learned we did have to return the funds.
And we'll find out before the next meeting. We will have answers to these questions from council. Or the coalition. Kristen, did you have anything else?
No, I appreciate you guys talking through that with me. That you covered it.
Okay. Claire?
Yeah, I'm good too on what was covered, and I don't think there's anything more to talk about until Freddie talks to whoever she has to talk to work out the legal stuff.
Okay, thank you. I have a few questions, but they were based out on the old application, so I don't know if they got changed. So in different places in the, like under eligibility, it talks about construction of the footbridge will complete the next phase. So I'm confused because some talks about next phases and then other places it says it will be completed.
Right.
So, and again, it does it under overall, the footbridge will complete this critical link So what would the next phase then be if this is the completion? So again, just wordsmith a
It's
little
a
bit.
really good question, because I think I tried to address, because I was thinking if I say final and then I
know.
if in the future we want to do the boardwalk, then I didn't mean final. So that's, I think, what I was really getting to. So I understand that it probably went back and forth, and
Okay.
I can make it more consistent. So
Perfect. Can we just talk, I'm not clear on this and I'm gonna try to hurry this along. I know it's late and everybody's tired at this point, so am I. And maybe not even for this meeting, maybe for the next meeting then. I'm just trying to understand, a lot of talk is about the accessibility piece, that there's a 0.4 mile trail segment that meets it. So I'm trying to see in my mind where that is. How do people get back? Do they go to like a certain point and stop, or is it a loop? So.
It's not a loop. And I mean, unless you walk around along Route 30, which no one's going to want to do. So the accessibility, it's important distinction. So if it's confusing here, we should go ahead and clear that up, because we're not advertising the section.
Okay.
as accessible. That overview is for the entire Peninsula Trail.
Okay.
Right, phase 1 was accessible, and we were trying to be very specific about not leaning too much or describing anything else of the trail being accessible, because it's not. It's only the first 4 miles from Central Street area.
Okay, and again, people won't remember the first article because it's, it's been a couple years. So again, that's just a question.
Yeah, so I think it should be clarified in any way.
Just for you, because it's mentioned a few times in here. So if somebody's at town meeting and says, oh, that might be great to take my mother or,
Yeah, so I
whatever,
tried.
and not understand that. So does it end, or, even a map cat to maybe show within all your maps what this section
I'm
is?
happy to provide a map. Do you think that would be confusing in any way?
Can I add a question here?
Yes. Go ahead.
Because we're happy to.
You're
do
not
that.
making an accessible trail with this funding.
Correct.
So why are we talking about it?
Because it's part of the history. That's so the reason, and I'm open to.
So
feedback
maybe
on
we
how to
just say
approach
that, a defining feature is this.
I sort of did. I thought
That-
so. Help me understand what I can.
Sounds like the trail is accessible that you're working on.
Yes.
On page 3, summary, overall project background
Yeah.
talks about the ADA, and that's when it stops. Then I go into 2026 CPA project overview. This CPA application.
I think it was somewhere else, Kat. I could be
Maybe
wrong.
it's the old application.
Yeah.
So if
Maybe.
anyone sees that.
Okay.
then Mr.
I'll come back to that. I'll come back and I'll get in touch with you on that.
And if I
Okay.
can make it clear, so what I thought was important, and this is always the hard part, right? Third time's the charm, is providing the overview of what the whole project is versus just a sliver. And then I tried to do that in the summary by having 2 sections, but if I need to make it clearer, it's just like.
Okay. This kind of all ties into one. So the boardwalk piece was complete. Well, not the boardwalk, I'm sorry. The natural surface trail was completed, eliminating the need for the boardwalk. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think you're gonna have to explain to town meeting. So I'm at town meeting, I'm trying to educate myself. You're asking for $178,000 roughly more, but you did a piece of the original 211 and it didn't cost anything. So just trying to understand
Yeah.
how the project with the footbridge increased basically. If you take the boardwalk out, the footbridge itself increased $178,000, that piece.
Well, it didn't increase. Well, I
Well,
guess
you're
some
asking
of the
for-
costs did increase
Yes.
over time.
Yeah.
So, and that's the reality of the project, is the costs are more now than they were originally budgeted.
Agreed.
And, other than it just cost, the bridge is costly, the abutments are costly, the engineering services were costly. So that's just, why is it different than it was? Because we are a few years outside of that, and perhaps our earlier estimates weren't as good as they needed to be
Okay,
to get
just-
to where we needed.
Be prepared to answer that to town meeting, and that kind of plays on Grant's question where you mentioned the 2028. I'm kind of leaning the other way. I'm thinking we approved this in 2023? The 2024, okay. So it's been 2 years and it's almost doubled in price. So if we put another 2 or 3 year window and it doesn't get done, are we gonna be coming back and doubling the 400,000 potential? So again, I'm just trying to play this out in my head. I would be more, apt to put, a year or a 2 year again with the ability of CPC to extend it. And be able to, again, being able to explain to town meeting why what happened in between there that, you know, the costs increased,
Yeah,
so.
and just to that point, because I was curious about this too, we just did a walkthrough with Mass Trails. They wanted to see the project
Yep.
close out. It was a last minute request. And so I asked them about the costs and stuff, and I said, do you see this often? They're like, they see it all the time. It doesn't mean that we were in the right, but they see these costs like, you know, the budget being double what they
Yeah.
anticipated. So it gave us a little bit of peace of mind that, you know, we haven't lost all, you know, hope of
Okay.
getting there.
A question on the grant. So back in 2022, there was a $50,000 grant
Yep.
for the project. Can you apply to get another grant, or is this a different grant you're applying for the same project?
It's a different grant.
It is a
for this
different grant.
project.
Okay.
I talked to Mass Trails Grant. I gave them a heads up, and I also walked them over to the bridge. So we're
No,
that
no,
much
totally
more-
fine. I just
Yeah,
want to
I
make
told them
sure.
that they're now aware of the project. They saw where the site is. It actually gives us, you know, a bit more. It doesn't mean we'll do anything, but they've seen it. And
Okay.
that's unusual. They didn't get to see any of the beginning of the first time around.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
that's positive.
And on the project manager piece, did you guys give any thought to possibly hiring a project manager? This is a lot of work.
This is the
Technical.
The bid goes out with a project manager. So the project manager.
Is you guys?
No, so, well, it's multiple. So it's we're hiring a project manager to build the bridge, to manage the bridge.
Okay.
To manage the building of the bridge. We've hired an engineering firm to go over the project itself, make sure they're building it to spec and engineering specs. Those are
Okay.
the people in charge. So we're hiring for the project manager. The bid has the project manager defined in it. So we heard you clearly. It's unlikely that DPW will have anything involved, and we did not approach Bill Cundiff for that reason because
Okay.
it's a huge project, and I'm pretty sure he's
So-
not gonna want any involvement.
Did you change that in the new application? Because under implementation, number 10 in the application I have, yeah, it says the Trails Committee will serve as project manager.
Well, we have to. We're the people who are going up for the application. But I think, did I say, let's see, service project manager overseeing.
Yeah, you retain an
committee,
engineering firm. I think that's
An engineering
confusing,
firm.
but okay.
Well, how would you like us to reframe it? We're happy to retain an engineering firm to prepare the construction bid, assist with the competitive bid, and provide engineering oversight during construction. A qualified contractor will be selected through the procurement process, and they will oversee the process. So if we can reword that so it's clear that project manager is built into that. I mean, I don't know how else we can, you know, and Travis is our advisory, you know.
Yeah. Okay, let me
We
think
just
about.
cut that first sentence and say
Yeah,
the Trails
that's-
Committee will retain a qualified engineer.
Yeah.
Isn't a project manager though somebody who, like you have two firms, like who oversees both of them? Like, isn't there any interdependency between one group and the next to make sure everything's flowing together? You have two different bids, you're saying. They each have their own project manager.
Two different bids.
No, two different. There's a qualified engineering firm for the construction documents and the bid process, and a qualified contractor for the competitive procurement.
Those have to fit together somehow. Isn't that what a project manager does, to oversee, to make sure that all flows? And
I don't know what you're asking. Please
a
clarify.
project manager for the whole project, not
Other
individual
than the Trails
pieces.
Committee, we don't have another project manager in place. I've tried to explain how the parties we have. If we need another party, please explain.
Again, nobody's criticizing or
Oh,
anything yet. I'm just,
I'm just-
we on other projects have, you know, requested, you know, a project manager to oversee it. And again, it's no slight to anybody, but it's a ton of work for you to take on, you know? And again, just a question. I'm just gonna,
Yep.
no one else.
I will say from a rec perspective, we've been revisiting that ourselves too in the past, prior to Travis's time, like, you know, when having the rec director be the PM, and even we're kind of leaning away from that just because of past experiences. Again, I'm just throwing that out from our experience.
Yeah, let me think a little bit more about it. It just stuck out to me, and I'd be happy to have a conversation offline about it, Kat, no problem. My last question is, under bylaw compliance, you said, yes, STC secured an order of conditions from Southborough and Framingham from who? Concom?
Concom.
Okay,
Yep.
can you add that in, would you mind? Again, I'm just looking at the layperson looking at it, they may not understand.
Yeah, do you need copies? Do we need in?
No, just put it in there, I think that's fine. I mean, if you have copies and you want us to include them in the record, then sure.
Yeah, well, I tend to err on the side of too much information, so we're just.
Well, I'm with you, so I like too much information.
Maybe just the name of the organization and the date that the permits were. And then if somebody had a question, they could go to where it was. But,
Okay. So, and the last piece I will ask for, and I know it's tough before it goes out to bid. Just as we look forward, I would hopefully be able to get something a little bit more itemized than just A, B, and C.
Where is
So,
this? I'm sorry. Which one?
under the quote, typically we have some level of an itemized quote in the packet for like recreation has the 1.5. We know what makes, we have documentation to that. You have an estimated cost of the bridge at the 349, 440, page 7. Again, it's the old one, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's the same table. So what I've done for documentation and all we have and help me know what we need is I did the 65% of the bid, which I included.
65 of the 448.
Yep, I included that. And then the oversight and services, that's a bid. That's a quote itself.
Okay.
And the contingency is the calculation. So.
Okay. And maybe that's enough, Kat. Just be prepared for somebody to ask is all I'm saying is typically.
Well, and we were trying to explain it. So if it's not clear, maybe, so I wrote the bridge construction estimate was, received during December. And the price is based on 65% of that. If there's a way I can make it clearer, we're happy to do so. I mean, part of this is like, should we even include the bridge quote? Because that's going to raise maybe more questions if we're just doing 65% of the bid, just include those two pieces and leave the bridge up and not talk. I mean, it's not hiding anything. We'll have it available. We'll have it for discussion. We can put it in the FAQ, but I mean, that's essentially adding more complexity so we can take it out and simplify it if you think that works. And
how did you come up with 65%?
Because that came from when we tried to get the cost breakdown by the bids. We asked both of them, Travis did. And they wouldn't give us a cost breakdown by item, but one bidder said you can do a 65-35 split, and that would get you what you're bridge versus.
Okay.
So maybe say that somewhere. Because just 65%, like what's 65%?
Oh, say what? Say 65-35?
Say that
you were advised.
You were advised that the bridge alone is a 65% of the total. That you didn't just say, oh, well, this is 65%.
No, the bridge construction estimate was developed using the highest bid received during the December 2025 bidding process, adjusted to approximately 65% to reflect the revised project scope, which now includes only the.
But you didn't say how you came up with 65.
So
just add that they advised you or something.
Yeah. We'll add.
Whoever those people were that you were.
And
The cost of the bridge.
that's it for me.
Okay.
Freddie, did you have?
I think I had one question because just when we last met before we put this out, I thought we asked, it was suggested, why not put out a project proposal for the full, with the boardwalk and
The committee decided we wanted to simplify the project and just do the bridge, and we didn't want to ask for that much more money. Because we have a workaround now, we're very happy with that workaround, so it just saves money all the way around. It doesn't prevent us from going forward, but we've learned also simple is sometimes better, and it's already complex to describe. So one bridge, that's where the committee decided to leave it.
Okay. I think you don't have to explain that it says, as far as simple goes, you don't have to explain that you're spending this much more and getting less, whereas it was just the whole project is more money is another way of looking at it. But that's not an option.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
One is when it asked for open projects, should I be adding more information? I wasn't really sure what you wanted for an answer there. And can we close out the first project? What do you need from us to do that?
Well, the 40.
So we can say no. Or I guess we'd still say yes, because we have the 211 open.
Yes, what? No, that's for the committee. I mean, they know that's not an old project. It's part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think leaving that as, you know, for the committee to determine, like, let's find out what they say about closing out the projects when
Right, we come back.
it's,
Well, okay, so I guess my question is, so we've done this answer to this question, yes, we are current on reporting is all you need for that question.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so I owe you an MWA support letter for this. And, okay, so I suppose at next meeting, you'll take a look at how it's been described to see if it's clear enough or if anything else needs to be written or rewritten so that it's not confusing the town. And, yeah, so then the next question is, what do we need to do to close out the first CPA application? I think we were waiting for a form, perhaps.
yeah, we just haven't done it yet, so.
So it's
We're
not.
waiting on, let me say this again, you have 2 projects open, there's no. The committee can discuss this and figure out how to do it now that. Yeah,
Should we wait?
you're not, there's no impact to this project from that not being closed out.
Okay,
It's
so,
up to the committee, it's for them to decide and, yeah, we just,
one less thing, that's all.
All right, we'll put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, we're just looking to like.
it's one more thing for here when you've got all of this, which is really complicated.
We'll put that on the next agenda
Yeah, I'm not-
to discuss.
I'm not being rude. I was just wondering what, because, it's on our agenda so that we are attentive to it and want to.
I thought we had to, there was another step we had to do, but I'll talk to Freddie.
Yeah, I'm gonna just look at it. It got really complicated, just saying.
We'll look at it
The
and
phase one closeout got complicated.
Well, one thing is it referenced. Yeah, I mean, how we're going to document it, I have to wrap it around because you've done the project with other funding. But you're saying that like, there's in this grant, it says there's the accessible parking and path, but you have an issue with that now with the not busting it up. Right? So, but that wasn't funded with this project, so we just have to.
this is getting very confusing. Why don't we just close out on the next agenda and we'll discuss it? How's that?
Sounds great.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
And Ken, I'll let you know once we decide, because tonight, I'll shoot a note out letting you know when our next meeting is.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, is that going to be in August likely?
It is.
So the two, not that it matters, but I'm going to be out of town, so it's going to be tricky.
Okay.
For that. So I'll do my best to have a representative, perhaps. Okay. I can't make
When do you think you're out of town?
the middle 2 weeks of the month. Not that it matters around me.
Okay.
So sorry.
Yeah, we'll probably have to meet during that time, but I think you're in good shape.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
But we'll
Thank you.
touch base for sure. Okay. Did you have anything else for signage, Ellen?
Yes, but do we want to?
Can we
We can do
punt?
it another day.
Let's
Yeah.
punt. Okay,
So can I just go back really quickly to the library
yes.
for 1 second? Because I know we wanted to talk about that more. I just want to make sure, and now my computer's upset, that the language we voted on is exactly what we talked to the library about, because I think we voted on, which is what was written in the spreadsheet, that it's items in the local history collection. And I think the library had talked about the local history collection. So it's the items in.
And also, I think when I read the article, I didn't say in part, so we should revise the spreadsheet to get rid of in part to reflect what we actually voted on. Sorry, that's a separate topic.
No, that's.
And is the spreadsheet in the Dropbox?
The spreadsheet's in the
Okay,
Dropbox.
just want to make sure so Sue has it, seeing as we put it up on the screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
But yeah, so I don't know if we need to, if we want it to be the local history collection was funded and not items in the local history collection. Do we need to revise that vote or can we just?
We can take another vote.
We can take another vote, but.
Amend the earlier vote from tonight and still have it. put
All right,
forward.
Sue, when you watch this replay, we are amending the vote. So let a minute taker watch that she knows to go back. All right, Grant, you gonna amend it?
This is the archival one, right?
Yes. My computer's done for the night. I'm sorry.
Wait, let me just read it. But the preservation is of the items, isn't it?
Yes,
Because you're
but
not preserving the well, I guess you're preserving the collection.
Collection,
yeah, because it's the whole,
Okay,
my understanding is that it's the whole collection,
okay.
but
That makes sense to me. So this, everyone's fine with that?
Yes. Everybody fine? Everybody's shaking their head, yes, okay. Everybody's like, it's 10:15, let's
I
go.
just want to make sure that when
Do I have to amend the earlier motion or just make a new motion? I think just make a new motion.
Make a new motion.
All right, so
Sue will catch it.
I move that the Community Preservation Committee approve signage for the library archival project stating, quote, "The historic preservation of the local history collection of the Southborough Library was funded by the residents of Southborough through the Community Preservation Act," end quote, and that the sign include the town seal on the top and that a CPC representative approve the final mock-up of the sign.
Second. Impressive, Grant. All right, I'm seeing no further discussion. Roll call vote. Lisa, yes?
Ellen, yes.
All right, just go down the table.
Yes.
Grant, yes?
Katie, yes.
Kristen?
Kristen, yes.
Claire?
No,
Okay, perfect.
And
Okay.
so that CPC representative who will sign off on it.
Is Ellen.
Okay.
I don't know, isn't that what we said?
It's our trustee.
Grant, okay. I don't know, who did we say originally?
I vote Ellen.
I vote Ellen, done,
Is that okay?
okay.
That's fine with me.
Okay, okay. Okay, approval of minute taker contract, if we could just pull that up. So the contract is the exact same as last year. I just went in and I highlighted in red the changes that I made. So I tried to keep it as easy as I could. For instance, I changed the date.
I'm
And
trying.
Okay. Grant, could you put it up?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go through this very quickly. Once it's up.
What's up?
It's up, okay. So I just changed the date. I updated Sue's email. And I'm zipping through it real quick here. I changed the date again under number 5, the terms to June 30th, 2027.
On the yellow highlights, or is that, what's the yellow highlight?
The yellow highlight, where, Grant, sorry.
$50 per.
Oh, that was just there. I don't know why. Don't ask me. It was in the contract last year too. I have no idea.
Just go
So,
for it.
Just go for it. So, yeah, when we approve it, we'll take the yellow out. That's totally fine.
Wait, sorry, can I just ask then, does that mean she's only allowed to bill for what, yeah,
It's $50 an hour
but per.
An hour for the meetings.
for the meetings.
Our meeting goes 4 hours.
It's
$200.
$200, correct.
But what if she needs to spend time outside of those 4 hours, like revising?
It's all incorporated and it
Okay.
says, it's inclusive of the amount of time it takes to attend the meetings, either virtual or in person, as well as the time spent drafting and updating the meeting minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's under number 2, that is. Okay, so we'll take out the highlights, because again, I don't know why it's there. It just was there. And it was in the signed contract too. And I think, I'm zipping down still, sorry. And I think that was the only change, other than I will say on page 7. I need to change the date. I didn't highlight it. Under insurance, paid leave. Yes, I need to fix that date too. So I know that I noticed it after I put it in the Dropbox. I didn't want to mess with it. And that's it. So I have been very happy with the job Sue's done. I mean, we get the minutes usually within 2 days to 5 days after the meeting. I think she does a great job. I'm thrilled that she wants to continue. I hope everybody else kind of feels the same way. And okay, seeing that, do we have a motion to approve the minute taker contract?
Excuse me, Lisa, can you
Sure.
just scroll back to the last page? I
Sure.
think there's a date in there that needs to be changed.
Oh, did I miss one, Claire? Hold on.
Yeah, I think so. A little bit higher.
See it. Oh, yeah, we changed that one, the June right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I already said that one. Yep. Good
Oh,
catch,
okay.
though.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Nope,
Yep.
totally fine, Claire. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, let's see. So let me do it again. Do we have a motion to approve the minute taker contract dated July 1st, 2026?
So moved.
We have to
As
say as
amended.
amended.
As amended, yeah.
So moved.
Okay, perfect. Is there a second?
Second.
Grant seconds, perfect. Roll call vote. Any just further discussion?
Just, it says see below for the link to the planning board.
Oh,
Schedule.
where's that?
On the bottom of page 7.
Oh, hold on one second.
That's not us.
That's not us.
She
Okay.
was originally the planning board.
She was originally with the planning board. So the bottom of page 7. Future meetings. Oh, yeah, see, wow, okay,
I noticed that
Thank
as
you.
it's in front of me right now.
perfect. So we'll make that amendment, that change as well. Thank you. Okay,
I think the
roll
motion still stands.
Yes.
amended.
as amended. Roll call vote. Lisa, yes. Let's go
Ellen,
down the
yes.
table.
Grant, yes.
Katie, yes.
Kristen?
Kristen, yes, and thank you, Sue.
Thank you. Claire, yes?
Claire,
Oh,
yes.
sorry. My God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Claire. Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so we'll do minutes real quick. So, I had to put the minutes back from 2/6. You guys approved them at your last meeting. The town clerk said, oh, there's not enough meat in them. So I highlighted and read what I added, just a couple words in each because, yeah, and he sent me the open meeting law, so I get it. So it's fine. So, let me go back to the minutes now. I think we can get through
And
this.
Lisa,
The
after
two
this,
26, okay.
226, yeah.
after this, I had a brief update on the water tower application.
Oh, I'm
But-
sorry.
No, that's
Yes,
fine.
absolutely. I'm
We
sorry.
can do the minutes first, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. So on the 226, all I added, originally it just said that Ms. Gillespie reviewed and updated. So I went back and I looked at the documents and everything. So it was just dates and corrected language. So Article 2 was updated final numbers. Article 3 was change the name of the Affordable Housing Trust. Other than that, and added the documents. The documents weren't on the original list. So
Yeah.
if everybody's good with that, we just need to revote that.
I make a motion to approve the Community Preservation Committee meeting minutes of February 26, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call. Lisa, yes.
Ellen, yes.
Grant, yes.
Katie, yes.
Kristen?
Kristen, yes.
And Claire, I won't say yes for you this time.
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't there.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Do I need to vote if I make the motion? Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I do.
Okay, hold on.
Yes.
I was like, what? Wait a minute. Okay, then that leads us to 6:11. And Ellen made some great edits. Thank you.
I think Alan and I had a couple on this.
Okay. I wasn't here. Go ahead. Whoever was,
I was present, wasn't I?
no, you are. I was the one absent.
No, but I wasn't remote. I don't think. Not that it really matters, but I don't think I was remote.
No,
under
you were
all.
here. That was the meeting I wasn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll change that. Okay. So we'll change the remote. We'll add, who from the golf course was here? I don't know. Do we want to go through? Is there any, maybe it's easier to ask if there's any other edits than these?
So I wasn't sure about this, because there were like folks who spoke as part of the public forum,
Okay,
but they weren't like invited to participate in, so I don't know if they need to be listed.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. They're
No.
listed down below.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're acknowledged there.
Most of mine were grammatical. I think the only substantive one I had was I had spoken about the need for historic preservation for on private properties to confer public benefit. So I added in a sentence about that.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm just gonna make a general, and this is based on feedback that we've received, and I wanna be respectful of that. That rather than referring to, I'm sorry, if you can go up a little bit. Wherever we were talking about Fable Park, I guess go down a little. Sorry, I had it up on my screen.
Oh,
There we
here.
go. Fable
line
Park
46.
Yeah, so anywhere we've been asked, and I'm trying to be better about it, that it's not actually Fayetteville Park, it's the Harold E. Fay Memorial Playground, locally known as Fayetteville Park, but maybe at least when we first mention it, we should say the Harold E. Fay Memorial Park. Again, I'm just being respectful of what's been pointed out to us as a recreation commission. And probably in meetings, I've been trying to be better about saying that. So if we could just acknowledge that in the minutes.
Okay,
I agree with that.
okay. And Sue will pick that up.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else other than that is on here?
I'm going too fast.
Or are there any other edits? And then around here.
I don't have any.
Okay, that being said,
I make a motion to approve the Community Preservation Committee meeting minutes of June 11th, 2026.
as amended.
As amended.
Second.
Roll call vote, Lisa abstain.
Ellen, yes.
Grant, yes.
Katie, yes.
Kristen?
Kristen, yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, it is 10:25. We can just as easily have Freddie send out a text tomorrow on people's schedules to see what works, if everybody's good with that.
Yeah, and actually, Ellen, I can probably work with you offline real quick on if everyone's good with that on the recreation signs. We're all in agreement on where at least the ones for the volleyball court and the Richardson tennis court should go. So I feel like we can wrap that up offline if you guys are okay with that.
I think you need to
Yeah,
have a meeting. Because didn't you just vote on the
That-
library?
yeah,
I think we can check in and move things forward and
Yeah,
then
and
be
we'll-
ready
Yeah,
to bring
I
more
guess like
action
I'll
to the
get
next.
everything kind of like signed, sealed, ready to go with Ellen. And then
Okay.
so next time we can just do a quick vote.
okay, so we'll send out a text for next meeting dates. Claire, are you interested in working with me on creating an open letter for CPC to businesses that we briefly touched on? I know it's not on the agenda, but I'm just asking the question if you and I want to talk offline and create a letter that we can send to businesses, thanking them for their support. Is that something you're interested in? Bring back?
Yeah, I'm more than glad to work with you. I'll be interested to hear your ideas on it. Maybe you have a little bit more enthusiasm for it than I do, but
All right, we'll talk offline, Claire.
I'm
How's
very
that?
open-minded. So yes,
Okay.
give me a shout.
I will give you a shout. We'll do that, probably not this week, but next week. How's that?
Okay, that's
Okay,
fine.
that's perfect.
I'll be putting down my points that I think we really need to include to make sure that,
Well-
our letter is good.
I agree. So do you want to start a draft on it? And then,
Absolutely, yep.
all right, and then I'll step in and
Yep.
kind of put my thoughts in, but I
Okay.
probably am going to agree with your thoughts anyway. So, okay, next up, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Nope, water tower.
Oh,
Did,
quick.
I'm so
wait,
tired.
did Grant do his update yet?
You're doing it right now.
I'll do it now.
You got me, Claire.
So I know for a while there was kind of some uncertainty about moving forward with the water tower application. Historical is kind of considering like a separate path. I think we talked about it, about using it for columbarium and kind of exploring that. That kind of has gone nowhere and I think is not going to go anywhere. So I just wanted to let you know that Historical is fully committed to moving forward with the CPC application. We have been in contact with the historical restoration expert who's going to do the study. I think he's like returning from his honeymoon or something like that. So we don't have that sense of like, that's a great thing to bombard him with right now, obviously. But we don't have a great sense of the timing. But I know Kevin is interested in having him do the report quickly. So I don't have anything other than we're interested in moving forward and we'll try.
For annual town meeting,
I can't say.
it's tight time frame.
Yeah, I know. So
Yeah.
I think from historical's end, there's nothing special about getting it done by special town meeting. Like
Okay.
there's nothing urgent.
Yeah.
If it happens, we get the study and we get all your questions answered. But I can talk to Kevin more, but I think based on what I had spoken to him.
We'll have him come, you guys can talk and he can
Yeah,
come to the next
but,
meeting too.
If it goes to annual, I can.
Yeah, I'm just,
perfectly reasonable.
We had a
So-
I'm
June
just-
30th deadline.
Right,
You had
so-
a June 30th deadline for.
Yeah, so the application itself hasn't changed and it's just still the same.
other than the cost, we don't have.
Yeah, it's still everything is, yeah.
All right. I'll put it, it'll be on the agenda. It'll stay on like it always does.
Yeah.
So, all right.
And if you want to remove it, like, if you're, yeah, it's up to you, I guess, in terms of
I think it stays on.
entertaining it versus not. So, like, you know.
Awesome. Okay, do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Wait, oh, I'll second. That's okay. Roll call vote. Lisa, yes.
Ellen, yes.
Grant, yes.
Katie, yes.
Kristen, yes.
Thank you. Claire?
Sorry, Claire, yes.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye, you guys.
Bye
Have a
all.
good one.
Have a good night.
You too.